Well, good afternoon and welcome to the village at Malahide. We're here for the conclusion, the last round of games in the Super 20 series. Our first of a double-header today sees the Scorchers in the field against the Typhoons. And I'm joined in the commentary box this morning by Celeste Rack. Celeste, it's awarding of trophies day today.
It certainly is. Sorry about that, Craig. Yeah, it certainly is. It's a must-win here from the Typhoons to stay in the game. Dragons have performed well throughout this series, and the Typhoons, in order to make the second game count, are going to need to win today's game.
Well, yes, the way the table stands at the moment, the Scorchers find themselves bottom and winless, but with 2 games today. And then the Typhoons and the Dragons each have that 1 game left against the Scorchers. And at the moment, the way the table stands, the Typhoons have 13 points and the Dragons have 15 points with 4 points for the win. So absolutely vital for the Typhoons to get off to a good start. They need the win here to put the pressure on the Dragons in the final game of the day. So opening the bowling for the Scorchers from the Dublin Road end will be Amy Maguire. And the bats for the Typhoons, Sarah Forbes at the non-strikers end. And with a firm shot to start with, it's Robin Searle at the castle end facing.
This plan of Amy Maguire opening the bowling for the Scorchers has worked to good effect.
It certainly has during this series. In fact, most of the team seems to be employing this tactic now of starting with a spinner. But Amy Maguire has had a super series.
Even though the Scorchers haven't got the start they've wanted in this series, they can take some good things like Amy Maguire's performances out of what they've achieved so far.
Certainly the management for the Irish team themselves will be looking at this series and picking out the bright sparks and the bright points of it. Even if your team is currently bottom of the log, there's no reason why you can't shine. First 4 of the day for the Typhoons goes to Robin Searle. Better delivery from Maguire on this occasion.
And it is impressive to see a young bowler thrive in a team that hasn't been as successful as they'd like. It's always easy to perform when everything is going your way, but can be much more difficult when your team isn't as successful as they should be.
Well, that's nicely played through the offside. There is a boundary right around on that side. Shauna Kavanagh it is with the slide. I suppose the length of her slide shows that maybe there's a bit of moisture in the outfield at the moment. But by and large, this has been a good over for Maguire. A good steady start for the Scorchers. A few adjustments in the field in this first over. Another one hit powerfully through the offside. Again, Kavanagh does the fielding.
And the key feature of Maguire throughout this series with the new ball is that she hasn't really given the batters much width. And you can see this over a little bit wider than what she has been. And it's been a bit easier for them to score off her.
Yeah, you can see the shots being played out to the offside, suggesting that bit of width. As you say, Amy Maguire throughout this tournament has sort of almost bowled, well, not stump to stump because she's left arm around, but she's definitely targeting the wickets. Oh, gets away with the bit of width on the last delivery of the first over. Score 7 without loss.
Yeah, both of these batters will want to use width, and that will makes their job a lot easier to score off if they're given room to free their hands. So Maguire, we're looking at that over. Whilst it didn't go for too many, she'll want to be readjusting that line and putting a bit more pressure on.
Now to bowl from the the castle end. Looks like it's Alice Tector warming up. Another player who, despite the position of her team in the log, has actually done a super job and has taken strides forward this season.
That's for sure. She's really come of age as a cricketer this year, and it seems like these kids are fearless, aren't they, Craig? It's they don't mind if their team's struggling. They don't mind who's in front of them. They've been performing so well.
That's been the case exactly. Fear is something that only comes with experience. Tector's first ball brings the drive shot out of Robin Searle, but no contact with the ball on this occasion. Gabby Lewis standing quite a wide first slip, really.
And I quite like that to Robin Searle. You see, Robin Searle does go really hard with the hands when she's given width off the seamer. She plays very strong through cover, and sometimes strengths can be weaknesses when there's a bit of movement as well. Gabby Lewis liked that one.
Thudding into the pads, bringing an appeal from first slip and belatedly from the bowler, which kind of suggests that it was an easy enough decision for umpire Willie Clark to take. So, Celeste, how have you found the move from being out on the pitch to being on the sidelines and talking about it?
It's certainly easier to get, it's easier to watch from here and to be able to correct things that you might not be able to correct when you're playing. But it's been strange. And I didn't think the transition would happen so early, but I'm delighted it has.
Nice bit of fielding there by Amy Maguire. She's certainly in the game so far.
But it's shown that there is this huge group of young players that are extremely talented coming through, and you know, if I didn't move out of the way, I certainly would have been pushed, Craig, with the talent we've got coming through.
Yes. Nice ball from Tector.
That's a lovely line there from Tector. That's what she'd want to see. Bowling Robin Searle, not quite as strong when the ball's on middle and leg, and you can see her head start to move towards the offside. Opens up wicket opportunities there, brings the stumps into play.
And again, very little room given by Tector. Can only be pushed out onto the leg side where Captain Leopold does the fielding. Changing the field now. Lewis comes out from her position at slip and strengthens the ring on the offside. And again, I suppose this is a consequence of these players playing against each other so often in club cricket as well as the Super Series.
Yeah, that's it, Craig. Everyone knows each other very well, and that would have been exactly what they were trying to protect against there. 5 dots in a row becomes a maiden over for Alice Tector. Brilliant start from her.
You could see Searle needing to get bat on ball, trying to pierce the ring, but on both occasions she tried. The Scorchers' defence was resolute, and a maiden for the second over. Not often we see maidens in these T20s.
No, that's it. And the power play is probably the best chance of them happening, with being able to stack up the field. And if you've got someone as disciplined as Alice Tector was there, just chipping away at the stumps. But it does put a lot of pressure on Robin Searle and Sarah Forbes here. And the question is, what are they going to do? What risks are they going to take to score off that straight ball on the stumps?
Well, Robin Searle has had a successful Super 20 trophy series, 4th highest run scorer. Should be looking to carry that on through. 7 on the board, so. And one of the good things has been the lack of extras. Jane Maguire now to take over at the Dublin Road end.
You're right, it has been impressive, the lack of extras that we've seen from the Scorchers throughout this series. They've got a very mature bowling attack for their age profile. They haven't given much away, and perhaps if anything, it's their batting that's let them down.
Yeah, it's the inability to score runs that has been the Scorchers' downfall this year. Neve McNulty has been the most successful bowler for the Scorchers this season. She has 5 wickets, just 2 behind Georgina Dempsey, who's leading with 7.
And it was interesting with Neve McNulty not having been selected for a lot of the Super 50 games early in the year. And I know she was a bit disappointed about that at the time, really wanted to play, but it's just that week in, week out, doing the work, playing well at club, and when she was given a chance, she really put her hand up.
It certainly makes the selectors' jobs a much bit easier when people are willing to shine, looking to grow out of the pack, I suppose. This is very disciplined and tight bowling by the Scorchers, into over 3 now.
It is, and the question is, Sarah Forbes is now no runs off 5 balls. She's going to have to do something. She's going to have to lead the charge here and make the move to score if they continue to bowl in these areas.
Forbes having a very good season with bat and ball. New club for her this year, of course, down with Pembroke. She's been a valuable addition to their squad and certainly strengthened the side there. As I say, has had a good series as well, but as Celeste is saying, no runs on the board for her as yet. Well, that changes. Well, one bounce and it clears the boundary, and it just shows what Sarah is actually capable of, given a bit of room.
And Scorchers won't be too disappointed with that either. They've drawn something out of Sarah Forbes, which she wouldn't have wanted to play if she didn't have to. On both accounts, it's impressive she was able to put that ball away, but the Scorchers won't be too disappointed that they've drawn out of the crease.
Well, the ball was aerial. Always a chance somewhere if it's not hit cleanly, but after 3 overs the score has moved on to 11 without loss, and I think the Scorchers will be delighted with how disciplined their bowling has been and how tight their fielding has been. Amy Maguire already has made 2 lovely stops just behind point in that sort of what used to be, I suppose, for our older viewers, the Jonty Rhodes position. The best fielder in there.
It's so handy having a left-hander there as well. We see in the women's game off seamers, a lot of balls get hit square, and if you've got someone like Amy Maguire at point, it cuts off a lot of runs.
Yeah, sometimes you find that bats don't realise that the fielder who's going to pick up the ball is left-handed, and that can make such a difference when it comes to tight runs, tight calls.
I know I've been run out a good few times there myself, Craig.
Well, Sarah Forbes just pulling away from that one. Umpire signals dead ball with some enthusiasm. Checks with his partner how many remain. Well, with Neve McNulty taking over at the Castle End, we've now seen 4 different bowlers in 4 overs. And this has been one of the traits we've seen during this tournament. It's all been short, sharp spells.
Gone are the days where you get a few balls to get yourself in and get into your spell. T20 cricket has got rid of that, and you have to be ready to go from ball 1.
Well, that's it now. Gone are the days of, as you say, playing yourself in or seeing what's happening. It's fast, it's furious, and it's T20 cricket.
And that's a great line once again from Tector there. You can see Forbes wants width. She's eyeing off that offside. No one out. Off McNulty, I'm sorry.
Neve McNulty with 5 wickets to her name over this series so far, over the 4 games the Scorchers have played. Well, she's getting the ball and is getting the ball into the bats, not giving them a lot of room on this occasion. Robin Searle, I think, wearing one. She's just taking a moment. When you think of how much padding batsmen wear, the ball has an unerring ability to find a spot on your body where you haven't got any padding.
It always does. No matter how big the thigh pad is, it finds a way to miss everything.
I think that one went through to her back leg. But she seems okay now. I always find this a very interesting part of the game, because when some bat comes back having been hit or whatever, there's almost a innate desire to take on the next delivery.
And McNulty will try and bowl an extra yard quicker there.
Again, nice fielding in the ring. Scorchers, well, we saw them warming up before the game. It seems to have done them the power of good in the field. They're alive, they're alert, and they're on top of everything at the moment. They're not making life easy for the Typhoon bats at all. Slight change in pace from McNulty there to end the over.
And that's been a feature of McNulty's bowling that we've seen so far in the Super Series. She's been brave enough to try slower balls. And in the power play especially, for a young bowler, it's not an easy skill to execute.
14 without loss after 4 overs. Typhoons will be happy with not having conceded a wicket at this stage. We're now 2 overs away from the end of the power play. That will see the field spread and may see runs start to flow as the gaps in the infield open up.
That's it. It's a tough balance between holding on to your wickets but also scoring, and I think they will be, whilst encouraged by not losing a wicket, I think they'll be a bit disappointed not to have a few more runs on the board at this stage.
This one just played around to square leg. A single taken. Jane Maguire, it is. And finally we see a bowler with a second over. This one short, well played by Searle. Oh, the direct hit would have been interesting. They just seemed to jog through for that single.
Yeah, that would have been very close.
It was certainly interesting the way they sort of accepted that they were going to take a single.
That could be what they need to put the pressure back on the Scorchers. There've been a lot more dots than what they would have liked.
Good shorter ball from Maguire.
Very well bowled.
Forbes unable to catch up to that one. But it's good to see her using a variation in what she's sending down to the bat.
That's for sure. And whilst she's not the quickest bowler we've got in Ireland, she's strong and she's able to hit the pitch harder than what some of the younger bowlers can. So great to see the slower ball used, the short ball used as well.
And this time the umpire deciding that it was a little bit on the wide side. But you can see what Maguire's trying to do here. She's trying to induce the top edge. Now, the question being, is she just trying to set up Forbes for the toe-crushing Yorker now? Or is she going to go short again?
It's one of the most enjoyable sequences to watch, isn't it? Short ball, hit the toes.
When it comes off.
Yep.
It's truly a thing of wonder and beauty, seeing a bowler actually work out a bat over the course of an over.
I like the idea of the short ball to Sarah Forbes, however.
That's what can happen if you get it wrong, though. And that's just bounced inches in front of the rope. 4 more to the total. But Forbes will feel a bit happier with that. On this occasion, Maguire just getting the length wrong.
And that's it, when it's not quite short enough to be a short ball of effect, and Forbes can still play it on the front foot with a bit of width. It's not that hard to put away for her.
Fuller length on this occasion for Maguire, turned around the corner. A nice bit of fielding by Ellie McGee down on the boundary, keeps it to a single. That is the end of the 5th over, and the score now has moved on to 22 without loss. A better over for the Typhoons.
Definitely, you can see that there's a new gear that Forbes has switched to over the last couple of overs, showing a bit more intent.
Neve McNulty will continue from the castle end. She will bowl the last over of the power play. It's been a steady start from the Typhoons. As you say, they probably would have preferred a few more runs on the board, but it's also important that they haven't lost any wickets. They're setting a nice base. And this one, lovely shot through the offside. Ellie McGee unable to get down to this one, and once it got past her, it had the pace to find the boundary on the tennis court side of the ground. And it's a beautiful shot, this shot.
It is, and as you can see there, just with a wide half volley from McNulty, and her current field out is deep third man and deep square leg, so you can't be bowling too full and too wide with the field that she's got at the moment to someone like Sarah Forbes, who just is hanging out for some width and some length.
Both of these bats, as soon as they see any width, you see the bat coming through with full pace.
That's right, and we've seen how bowling straight has worked to such great effect. So McNulty will be disappointed to have given that one away, and we'll want to be back onto the stumps.
Again, employing this obviously is a Scorchers tactic today of using that shorter ball.
Definitely, and we've seen McNulty throughout club cricket especially really trying to bowl those deceptive slower balls, so they're just a slight roll of the fingers. Enough variation for Forbes to miss the ball.
Went for the full length, it ended up being full toss, and Kavanagh takes the catch behind square on the leg side. Safe pair of hands for Kavanagh. Well, they often say it's not your best ball that gets you the wickets, and that was certainly the case there.
Oh, exactly, and often you do have to do the work so that the bad ball is a surprise, as it was in that case. But Forbes just saw the full toss, eyes lit up, swung as hard as she could and managed to find the one fielder out on the entire leg side.
Yes, how often you do that as a bat. You think you've connected well with it, and you look and there's open fields, and then you see one fielder, and you've managed to find that one person, and that's the end of your go. And that's the case here too.
And especially Shauna Kavanagh, she's got a safe pair of hands, and she moves very well. She would have been very happy to have that ball coming straight at her.
So the first wicket falls, 26 on the board, and Sarah Forbes departs. Three balls left in the power play, and the Scorchers, well, they'll be delighted to finally have made a breakthrough.
And Annabelle Squires from Marion comes in, someone we haven't seen much of in this series.
Availability. Well, she gets the chance to shine here now.
She's one of many of the leaving certificate players this year, so was focused mostly on her studies at the start of the season and has been glad to get back to cricket as her number one priority since then.
Well, we'll see now if all that study has impacted. Obviously. Well, it's a nice start, just played around the corner. Kavanagh interaction again, this time ball well along the ground all the way. Suddenly the sunshine starting to break through the broken cloud.
A lot more optimistic about the weather than I was last week at Oak Hill.
Yes, first game abandoned last week, second game a DL result, not ideal. Nice bit of fielding by Lewis.
Well negotiated by Coulter Riley with the return throw.
Yes. Thrown from the ground to the ground.
We often underestimate what the keepers do in the background. People only notice when something goes wrong.
Well, I've noticed that a few times this year, that if you're not mentioning the wicketkeeper, it's a good thing. It's sort of like the umpires, really.
That's right.
If they're not the centre of attention, then things must be going well. That is the end of 6 overs. It's the end of the power play, and our first game is underway. The score is 27 for 1 after 6 overs, and now there'll be a change in the commentary box with Isabel Joyce and Ali McCalmont.
Hello, how are you? How are you? Great. Yeah, lovely. Lovely now.
All right, thanks to Craig and Celeste. So 27 from the power play. Steady start, but not setting the world alight. Typhoons have to win this game to stay in the hunt for the Evoke Super 20 trophy, so lots on the line for them.
Yeah, 27 for 1, as you say, Izzy. And just that wicket brought the Scorchers back into it a little bit, and Sarah Forbes will be very disappointed to pick the fielder out. Massive gap out there, but she managed to almost pick her out perfectly. We talked about it just when we were off air early about the rotation of strike. Sarah was hitting the ball very cleanly, but it was just that rotation of strike as well that would have maybe taken that up to a 35-40 power play.
Well, Annie McGee, the new bowler, leg spinner now, was a seamer. Well, it's one of the things that we talk about a lot is strike rate, but something that isn't mentioned as often is scoring rate. So how many balls you can score off, and that's the issue for Sarah Forbes. Is she can hit those big shots, but she doesn't score off enough balls. Not yet. That's the next step for her, because she couldn't hit the big shots up until this season. So great to see she's added that power game to her armoury, but she just needs to score off more deliveries.
Oh, that's in the air. And you don't hit the ball in the air towards Gabby Lewis, because there's only one outcome usually. On this occasion, that's exactly what happens. Annabelle Squires just back into the team today. She's gone for just one. Caught Lewis Bull McGee.
Yeah, disappointing for Annabelle Squires. She's been studying, doing her leaving cert, and hasn't played a lot of cricket coming into this match. Hasn't faced Ellie McGee since she turned into a leg spinner, and she'll be really disappointed with this. So obviously pressure on because a few dot balls, gave herself a little bit of room, and the theme of the day, just picking the fielder. There was so much space there, but just sent it straight towards Gabby Lewis, and you won't get much easier catches than that. So 27 for 2 now. They've lost 2 wickets for just 1 run, the Typhoons. New batter in is the captain, Rebecca Stokel. One Marion player replacing another.
Yeah, big partnership now for the team in blue. As you say, they've got to win this game to keep alive their hopes of the trophy. The Scorchers could play the Party Poopers today.
Well, they've got 2 opportunities to be Party Poopers. If they don't beat the Typhoons here, then they have another chance to ruin the day for a team if they beat the Dragons later.
That's pulled around the corner. There's a fielder on the boundary who collects returns, and Rebecca Stokel gets off the mark. First ball.
She makes it look so easy, doesn't she? Alice Tector on the boundary there. Just pick up and throw without much effort. Gets it all the way in. Good to see Ellie McGee being given the opportunity early in the game.
It's hit down the ground, beats mid on, and is hit powerfully enough by Robin Searle to make it to the boundary. That's what you've got to do. Full toss, got to put it away. Beats mid on fielder and ends the over with a boundary for Robin Searle.
Oh, it was aerial for a while. I thought Ellie McGee was in with a chance, but not close enough to her. Good direction from Robin Searle, and a bit of a pressure relieving boundary from her there. 12 from 19 now, so she's going pretty slowly. 7 overs gone, 32 for 2.
Yeah, but there was just one off the over up to that delivery, plus a wicket. As I say, these 2 very important, very experienced players. Think back to that innings up at O'Kill, I think it was, and Rebecca Stokel hit the balls cleanly for a 60 that day. as captain, she'll want to be watching the game this afternoon with something to play for.
Was that in the 50 over in Belmont?
Yeah.
Belmont.
Oh, it was Belmont. You're correct. That's right. It was Belmont. First game with the 50 over.
Good to see slip in for Alice Tector. It's the 8th over, but I think Gabby Lewis probably just jogged in there. She didn't even probably ask for permission from her captain, Leopold. Just said, I'm going to go. I reckon there's a catch coming. I'm going to put myself in there. It's kind of it's a guessing slip position, I would say. It's just kind of, what would you say, it's second, 1.5?
Well, it's definitely not one.
No.
I'm looking right at her and I'd say 1.5 at least. Full toss driven down to mid-off.
Oh, no. Well, pressure put on by Rebecca Stokel. Hit that straight to the fielder and mid-off, Claire Webber, I think it is. And Miss Field goes for 4. So she's got her first boundary, but went straight to the fielder. She'll be really, really disappointed with that, Alice Tector.
Yeah, fielder a little bit square on there to field that. We try and get sideways on to give yourself a best chance. A little bit square on there. Disappointing, as you say, for the bowler. The fielder also.
Sometimes you can tell the mindset of a batter by the way they stride out. Rebecca Stokel looks very keen to score big runs here. Watched her on Thursday night, Miriam playing Balbriggan. She had the pads on for the entire innings and didn't get a bat, so she'll be happy to get out there today.
That might be the reason then she's strode out there. That's a really good point you make, because we've watched the best players over the years walking out and immediately indicating to the fielding team that I'm coming for a reason here. And I think you're right, when she was walking out there, it seemed very positive in her walk to the crease. It's another full toss, bit of an edge this time. It'll be time to third. I'm going to come back for 2. Good running as well. That's important.
Yeah, good runner between the wickets, Rebecca Stokel. Unusual to see Alice Tector bowl a couple of full tosses. I think that one kind of surprised Rebecca Stokel. She was through the shot late. She was somewhat lucky to get that backward of point. Great to see the sun shining here in Malahide.
And they've gone up for that. The umpire must have think it's clipped the pad on the way through. He hasn't signalled a wide. Yeah, I was just about to ask you what that thing is.
Yeah, what's that heat on my hands? Do I need some sun cream? Ali and I have never commentated together where Ali's. I've never seen his arms before.
Yeah.
And the arms are out.
Short sleeves on today.
Short sleeves on. I hope you got the sun cream on the noggin. Yeah, I was this morning. I mean, I wear sun cream every day, but I was putting it on, feeling like I had a purpose today. To close out that over. 39 for 2 after 8.
It just lifts the spirits of everybody, players, officials, spectators, when you can actually go to a ground and relax with a little bit of heat. There's your scorecard from the Typhoons. As we mentioned, they decided to bat first, and Sarah Forbes got off to a decent start, had a few very clean shots, but then, as I say, off that full toss, picked out Shauna Kavanagh on the sort of deep square leg boundary.
We couldn't quite believe it, could we?
No,
Watching
such
at the
a gap.
side. It was huge space, and it's one of those grounds where it's like there's more than 360 degrees or something. There's so much space. She just found the fielder. Stokel just dabbing that to third for a single. Something that Annabelle Squires just couldn't manage to do when she was out there. Couldn't rotate the strike. But I saw Annie McGee bowling in a match earlier this week in a league or cup match. Sorry, in Division 2. She plays for her cricket for Rush, who are in Division 2. And they'll probably look to come back for 2 here. They won't manage to do it. But she was bowling on a mat, and it doesn't suit her type of leg spin at all. It just sits up. So she'll be delighted to be back on turf here in Super Series cricket. And, she changed the leg spin to get more of an opportunity to elevate her game. And I think it's right now it's probably working out. In last year, she probably wouldn't have got a bowl as early as this in the game, if at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of you just bowl off spin. These days, it's accepted that that's standard. You've got to be a little bit different. So, real kudos for her for trying something different. and try and elevate her game. If she just bowls off spin, as you say, she may not get the opportunities that she's getting. So trying something different and then turn into a double bowler, bowl off spin and leg spin in the same. You've got the both in your armoury.
Well, she was a seamer up until this year. There's a quick single taken, easily in the end. She was a seamer, but she always held her wrist inside the line of the ball. So that's the natural way that her wrist moves. So usually, and I'm sure you're the same, but when you're coaching and you say to people, do you want to be a leg spinner or an off spinner, it's what's the natural movement for your wrist?
Yeah.
And that's obviously what feels natural for her.
That's
Has she picked her out? She has. Well, it's a theme for today. All three batters out have found the fielders with ease. Unfortunately, the ball in the air. Good connection from Rebecca Stokel. She looked like she was on for a big one, but unfortunately, she's just managed to find Jane Maguire, the safe hands of Jane Maguire in the deep. And the Typhoons have lost their third as they search for a victory here today.
Well, that was exactly as you called it. Another fielder perfectly picked out almost by the batter. She hit that nice and cleanly, but I'm really impressed with the way Jane Maguire set herself for that. Got herself to the trajectory point very early and got her hands nice and high and actually made the catch look quite easy in the end. As you say, good pair of hands. I'm very impressed with the catching in the outfield so far in this T20 tournament, and that's another one. And a big wicket, a really big wicket there for the Scorchers. Stokel goes, and it's 42 for 3 now.
9 runs, just the 9 runs from 10 deliveries for Stokel. She's looking to move things along, but just found Jane Maguire in the deep. Ava Canning, the new batter, in, the Leinster Cricket Club captain. And Ava Canning very much turning into an all-rounder, but I think the fact that she's in as early as this shows that maybe they don't have the depth in the batting lineup that they would like. The Typhoons, very capable, but certainly not a frontline batter yet, you would say.
Yeah, you'd certainly be liking Laura Delaney to be either out in the middle already or coming in here at 5. She'd have probably gone 4 and Rebecca Stokel would have dropped to 5, so Stokel will be coming in now and that just elongates that batting line up. But yeah, she's certainly come on with her batting, Ava Canning. But 3 down now, and we haven't reached the halfway point as yet. Change of bowling. Amy Maguire coming on, switching ends. And just be a single to Robin Searle. A lot of this innings will now depend on Searle. She's been very circumspect so far, 15 from 23 at the halfway as we come up to the halfway point. Possibly a good time for Amy Maguire to be bowling here. It's the new batter in, try and get through a few overs. It's nicely thrown up. Bit of flight. Takes the edge and it's no run.
Well, I'll watch that from Shun Woods. And I mean, do you call that backward point? Is it 2 points? I think it's probably more a backward point than a third.
Yeah, I was actually commentating on a game yesterday. I'm not going to there were 3 points.
Wow.
3 points, and I didn't know what to call.
Why?
Why? Well, very slow pitch. There were a couple of people that two at cover, and then 3 points on the offside, and they were just bowling outside off. But I didn't really know what to call any of them because there was point, backward point, and then where do you go?
Was it cover point?
Yeah, you could probably go with that. That's probably a good one. But yeah.
One eye, of course, both Ali and I, one eye on the Irish Cup today. Semi-finals taking place.
Yeah, North v South today.
What's the other semi-final? It's Phoenix.
Phoenix against CIYMS. Is that the park?
Then Instonians, Marion.
That's the one that you'll be
That's the main
concentrating on.
That's the important one, yeah.
Yeah, both the northern sides are struggling at the minute, but obviously in a semi-final, and that could be picking out a fielder again. No, she's got enough on that. There's Gabby Lewis out there who was interested for a while, but she's just come to the wicket, and she's timed that as well as anybody has today. And that's a lovely shot. So I got a little bit sucked in there and thinking she was going to be picking out another fielder, but lovely shot from Eva Canning.
Yeah, she's picked the right side of the ground. They're very much on the far side of the square, so that's the shorter boundary out towards the village end. Oh, that's a genuine edge. Good turn from Amy Maguire. Just fended that off Eva Canning. They'll come back for 2. It's about whether they'll take on the arm and run 3. They will. Robinson, good running. She got in and out very quickly and came back for 3. So a valuable couple of balls for the Typhoons. The 50 came up with the 6. 54 for 3 from 10.
Yeah, an interesting delivery, that last one. It certainly gripped a little bit, but also bounced. Took the top half of the bat. And no slip involved. Ran all the way down. Sean Woods chased it down, but still managed to get 3.
Well, Sean Woods is a wicket-keeper, so her throw is pretty good. But for a keeper, you're thinking in Malahide you can take on the arm of Sean Woods, and they did with good effect. So Ellie McGee will bowl her 3rd.
Yeah, it's just another thing, and I'll just probably watch this delivery first before I raise that point. Got into the offside and fielded. Yeah, it's just a point in the different grounds that you play in. This is a much bigger ground in terms of space, maybe just visually possibly, but it does look like a big ground. So then changing your game to pick up 2s and 3s rather than the boundaries every time. That's in the air. Just carried, I think. There's a chance of a run out as well. I think the Canning makes it.
Yeah, it was a chance. There's definite chance into point, but she just took ages to dive forward there, Amy Maguire. Maybe just a step. She could have taken a step forward and then dived, but it was like a falling tree the way she went down to ground. They're struggling with the bounce of Ellie McGee, the Typhoons. We saw Annabelle Squires just picking extra cover out when she hit it. They're playing on the back foot a lot, which I think is a good ploy against her because she is quite slow. But you then have to get over on top of the ball and on top of the bounce, which they haven't managed to do.
Yeah, that's a much fuller delivery there, but those balls that are pitching on a length are bouncing a little bit, so you want to be playing high to low, try and keep it in along the floor rather than...
Well, one or the other is what I always say. Like, just be, if you want to play it up, just make sure you mean to. That one's the aerial, but she hasn't managed to find the fielder. Eva Canning was a chance almost for Leopold. She thought she was in with a shout, but just gets the distance. So another couple to the score.
Yeah, real teaser there for Leopold. Wasn't sure whether to turn and run to try and take the catch or backpedal. In the end, didn't manage either, and it just looped over her head. That's going as wide.
That's the kind of length that we're talking about where they're playing on the back foot, but it was obviously too wide. Canning letting that one go through and gets the extra. Not a convincing shot to finish that over, but does manage to get the single. So 6 runs from it, 11 gone. Now 60 for 3.
Yep, lovely day here. Malahide, as we say. There's your pictures of it. And just on top now, the bowling figures for the Scorchers. 2 wickets for McGee already. Niamh McNulty's going to come back now. She's bowled 2, 1 for 6 already. So
a big step up for Niamh McNulty this year. She's been someone who took the new ball in previous seasons. It's still only 17. But it feels like she's found her feet a little bit this season. Bowled in the power play for the first time this morning, but coming back in the middle overs, which is more how she's been used by the Scorchers.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier on, off air in the first 6 overs, about how she has developed. She really developed that action. We've seen quite a lot of younger bowlers getting now. They're almost clones of each other at the minute, but she's playing a lot of cricket now, and she's been selected on another tour, the under-17s, as you say, under-17 at the moment. So she's going to play for Ireland under-17s on that tour. It's really great to see the opportunities they're getting now to play at a higher level. really develop those skills.
Yeah, she played she was in the squad that went to the Under-19 World Cup in South Africa a couple of years ago, but didn't really play much. I think she played one match and was very nervous. She put a lot of pressure on herself, but seems to have let that go a little bit this season. Has added some slower deliveries. We saw one just that previous delivery, and that's a big plus for her in T20, is that she has those slower balls, and she plays for Marion, and I've spoken to her about not being afraid of bowling those, and if they get hit, they get hit. It's absolutely fine. She just needs to, in some ways, not worry about the result, and get the overs under her belt, get the experience of bowling those slower deliveries, just like that one. And actually, we played against Clontarf a couple of weeks ago, and she had the final over, had to defend 9. First one went for 4. Great shot from Christina Coulter-Riley, who's got the gloves on right now, on her team in the Super Series, but obviously was playing against her. She ramped her for 4. Fine leg was up. It was a very brave shot again, but she defended it. In the end, Niamh bowled 2 slower balls in that final over. It was really impressive. Well, that's very fine. I think that'll run away to the boundary for 4, unfortunately. Just that area we were talking about earlier on, a different shot, but 4 runs well picked up by Robin Searle.
Yeah, but it's a really, as we just mentioned, she's still under 17, playing for Ireland under 17, so experience is not going to be there, but feeling comfortable in your environment is a huge thing when you're going into any environment as a new player. And probably last year, just stepping up into interprovincials and seeing some of the international players that you're up with, and your teammates against you, it can be a little bit daunting, but when you feel comfortable, it makes it so much easier, and then trying those different skills as well to elevate your game. Well, that's a decent over, just that one delivery down the leg side. It was clipped for 4, just goes for 5, but she's got through 3 overs now, just for 11, and she's picked up a wicket as well, so her skipper will be quite pleased with that return. These two just starting to build a partnership here. See, Eva Canning's come in and been a little bit more aggressive. Robin still scoring around about the 70 mark.
Yeah, but too slow, isn't it, from Robin Searle? It doesn't. It's not a pitch where you feel like this should be the score. Like it's playing well. There's no reason why they shouldn't be up around 80. The Typhoons, that one's aerial. Niamh McNulty settles herself, takes a good catch, excellent fielder. She played across that one, Eva Canning, and Niamh McNulty, who's just bowled the previous over. Well, she looked very secure underneath that one, and Ellie McGee takes another one. Typhoons in a bit of trouble, 65 for 4.
Yeah, Ellie McGee's running through, and Typhoons at the minute. And another wicket goes. Eva Canning a little bit cross-batted there, possibly. Better serve going straight down the ground with a straighter bat. That's just top edged, but again, very, very well judged catch. Not easy when you've time to think about it. That's probably the hardest bit there. You've lots of time. Everybody's got their eyes on you, but she did really well technique wise. Again, getting high hands in front of her eyes,
yep,
if not above, and very clean catch again. And the Scorchers have done that well. They've taken their chances today. 4 of them, and now 65 for 4. Typhoons in a spotter bowler.
You're spot on about the technique. Georgina Dempsey, the new batter in, but Niamh McNulty got the hands up really high early, and what's really important for me is that she didn't try and give with it. I'm always telling the kids at training, at training you can give with the ball, try and protect your hands, but in a match, don't let the ball go anywhere. Just wrap the hands around it, make sure that it stays in, because when you get too worried about giving with the ball, you can drop it.
That's really such a good point, because it's even with coaching a lot of kids, and because I feel it for such a long time, I've actually got a natural reaction of bringing the thumbs around the ball to try and keep it in there, I always talk about it like a sort of Venus flytrap that just closes around the ball, and if you get that in your head with a bit of muscle memory, you just do it then. It doesn't.
Yep.
Getting kids to practice that and just get into that routine that it's not second nature is really good. So,
well, you hear about people talking about soft hands, and I actually coach hard hands. I say hard hands. Don't. If you're fielding enough, you don't need to protect the hands by giving with it too much.
Well, we can't knock the Scorchers today. Their catching's been excellent so far today, and that's what's really set them up here.
Well, Shauna Kavanagh had the quite low hands, actually. It was almost like around belly button height. So definitely a more difficult one. Good power on that shot from Searle. Sends it forward of Kavanagh in the deep, but who makes a bit of a meal of things and unfortunately doesn't manage to cut it off. So 4 runs off the bat of Searle. Great power striking from her and good direction as well.
Yeah, I think that's what we'd like to have seen a little bit more of from Robin Searle on that occasion. As we talked about previously, she got up on top of the ball there and was able to beat Gabby Lewis in the covers, and as you mentioned, Shauna Kavanagh did all the work to get round to the ball, but then didn't do the most important bit of keeping the ball in the field. That's a little bit short. Sent back. Georgina Dempsey sent back by Searle. Didn't really stay with that shot and clothed it a little bit. Probably looking to go offside again. McGee got 2 deliveries left. That's well flighted up, and again a good piece of fielding. McNulty keeps it down to 1. That's important.
Well, no ball called here.
Oh, I've missed that. Yeah.
And I think he's just waiting for the scorers to acknowledge that
they've missed
no
it
ball.
as well.
So this will be a free hit. Valuable opportunity for the Typhoons to get some bonus runs here. It's Georgina Dempsey on strike, mid-off inside the rings, or mid-on inside the ring. You'd think that's where she's thinking of going. Oh, big wide.
Yeah, I think she'll have to bowl that again, yeah. Even slower than normal there. So it will again, of course, be another free hit.
Big full toss this time finds the gap. Well, finds the fielder. They'll just take the one. Caught by Jane Maguire, but of course a free hit, so a single off that one. And after 13 overs, Typhoons 76 for 4. It'll be another change in the commentary position. It's Craig and Celeste after this. Well, it's going to be another boundary to close that one. So it's been a valuable over for the Typhoons. It's 80 for 4 now after 13.
Robin Searle on top of it and hits it through the covers. That goes for 4. So as he said, we'll hand over now to Celeste and Craig.
Well, as we enter the last 7 overs of this innings, one feels it's almost been the best Scorchers display in the field we've seen for a while.
It's been really impressive. It's been very tight bowling, been great fielding, people in really, really well thought out field positions. It's a very impressive start to the game from the Scorchers here.
Well, Robin Searle has been there since the start. She's now on 29 out of this total of 81. And she's seen wickets falling at the other end, and most of them to excellent catches.
And that last over, one can't help but think that could signal a change in intent from Robin Searle.
Well, as I say, she's been there from the start, 13 overs at this stage now. She'd be thinking of the finish line, a target that the Typhoons probably have set themselves. It hasn't been easy to score runs. We've seen a few boundaries, all right, but by and large, the bowling has been very tight.
It has been. Yeah, they've bowled in good areas. And as much as Searle has been... And then we have another wicket from Amy Maguire this time. Georgina Dempsey bowled, trying to hit across the line there. And a very well-deserved wicket from Maguire.
It was indeed. It was nicely tossed up. Beat her for length, really, as much as anything else. And Dempsey finds her way back. The first wicket to fall bowled in this innings. And again, the Scorchers will be delighted with the way things are going. Half the side out and just 84 on the board now.
And every time the Typhoons have looked like gaining some momentum, they've just managed to bring themselves back into the game, the Scorchers have.
Coming in at number 7 today, Joanna Loughran, the Typhoons wicketkeeper. She probably wouldn't have expected to have been in quite this early.
No, I'd say not. And she's floated around the order a little bit. She's been higher up the order earlier in the season. Now she's finding herself at the more traditional wicketkeeper position of 7. She's been in some good form for Leinster. So could this be her time to shine?
Well, Robin Searle certainly looking for a partner to remain with her for a while. In the 14th over now. Nicely played away on the offside, just a dot ball on this occasion. Change of bowling sees Amy Maguire back on at the Castle end.
She showed a very impressive ability to be able to bowl in the power play and be effective outside it as well. Tossing the ball up and inviting a shot. A little bit in the air there, potentially bringing Gabby Lewis into the game.
Well, that's the end of the over. 83 for 5.
A successful over with the last one prior to that. Finley McGee being a little more expensive.
Shane Maguire given the ball now for the 15th over. She'll be coming on at the Dublin Road end. Five bowlers used by the Scorchers so far. Just Ellie McGee, who's completed her 4 overs.
And that's going to be the challenge for the Typhoons. All 5 bowlers have bowled well today. They've got some good bowling to face on their way through to the 20th over.
Well, there's where a change of bowling really works, and Jane Maguire picks up a wicket LBW, and the Typhoons, well, they'd have come into this game looking forward to good game and putting themselves top of the table and putting some pressure on the Dragons later on. But at the moment, I'd say the Dragons, if they're watching or on the sidelines here, will be most happy with the way this first game is going.
They certainly would be. And obviously we don't know the full story until we've seen both teams bat, but the Typhoons would have certainly expected themselves to not be in quite this situation. I can see here Maguire's gone very full, brought in pads, and I'd say that is one of the easier decisions the umpire has made this season.
Always nice for the umpire when it's that clear cut, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and it's not often that they get the easy ones, is it? It's a challenging job.
Not the easiest job in the world, but often the best seat in the house to watch a game of cricket from.
Sure is.
The new bat, Julie McNally, coming in at number 8. Joanna Loughran's stay was a short one, and Robin Searle, well, she's now with her 7th partner today.
I was saying before about the bowlers in a team that's struggling, it's hard to perform, but batting, when you've opened the batting and you've carried your bat all the way through and wickets are falling, it makes it very difficult to play your shots out there.
You become very aware of the loss of wickets, that's for sure. And it almost applies a brake to Searle's own batting. I think she feels can't take as many risks as perhaps she might want to.
That's it. 30 runs off her 14.2 overs that she's batted for. It's tough to really hit that extra gear and start attacking.
We touched on it earlier in our first stint, was that Searle actually isn't getting a huge amount of the strike. Although she's been there for 14 overs, 14 plus overs now, she's only faced 33 deliveries.
You're right. There was a patch there in the middle overs where she seemed to face maybe 3 balls in 4 overs. Wickets falling all around her.
Short one from Maguire, beats everybody, the bat, the keeper, and even the rope. And heads up the hill at the far end of the ground, behind the sight screen. 4 more onto the total, and that'll be 4 runs gratefully accepted by the Typhoons. They really, it might not be the easiest pitch to bat on, but they've got to have an idea of where they want to be at the end of 20 overs. And surely it's got to be in excess of 120 anyway.
We've seen in this tournament it's hard to defend scores lower than that. This is some great use of skills from Jane Maguire. You can see there, ball before, short ball, really had Searle fooled, and then there the slower ball off cutter. And for someone who's been in for 33 balls to be able to beat the bat twice in 2 balls, it's a show of the skill of the bowler.
As you said earlier, not the paciest bowler on show today, but bowls with great intelligence, using every weapon in the book, changes of pace, changes of length. And another good over for the Scorchers. It's 90 for 6 now after 15. Last 5 overs, 30 deliveries. A run a ball would get them 2.
So Searle has been the woman who has stood through all of the wickets falling around her. She's 30 off 35 balls. As we said, hasn't had much strike. Forbes stood with Searle for a little while, but didn't get going in the end. And Canning is really the only batter of note to have stayed in there with Robin for her 14. They're going to need a partnership now if they're going to get themselves over that 120.
It's the fall of wickets that really have put the brakes on the Typhoons today. A lot of that down to some very accurate bowling and some very good ground fielding. In fact, all fielding from the Scorchers. Alice Tector returns at the castle end. First one sliding down the leg side.
You can see McNally's first movement there was head towards the offside. Didn't look particularly comfortable with that leg stump line. So these two would know each other quite well. And I can only expect Alice Tector to be trying to really hit middle and leg here.
Very little footwork from McNally on that one. Sort of waved the bat in the general direction of the ball. I think it's a good thing for her that she didn't make any contact on that one.
Absolutely.
There was no power in that shot at all. It was just showing the bat to the ball. That's always a risky option to take.
And Alice Tector's got some good pace about her even in senior cricket, but to young players she'd be considered extremely quick. So you can see here McNally's a little late on the ball.
Tough place to come out to. 6 wickets down, you're number 8. And you find yourself in with one of the openers. Bat on ball and take the single would be the ideal situation. But the Scorchers aren't even allowing her to do that.
No, they're not. They've continued the theme of the innings and bowled tight, bowled good lines, backed up by some exceptional fielding in the ring.
Beautiful day at Malahide here today. If you are in the area, there's a bit of room to watch, but fine cricket to be watching as well. And
that again is very well bowled by Tector. we often see with young players some good strong shots, but if you continue to just hit the ball to the fielders over and over and over, it's not going to help your team. She needs to be a bit more creative here.
You can almost feel the pressure building within McNally. She wants to get her partner on strike. And on this occasion, that's what you were talking about. Actually guided into a gap rather than hit at a fielder.
That's it, and sometimes the shots that might look exceptional in the nets, that are exactly where you technically should hit the ball, aren't always the most effective in T20 cricket. So it's good work there from McNally, finally being able to squeeze the ball away through the gap a little squarer than what she had been.
Now, the important thing for Searle here will be to try and get a single and get the strike for the next over. Scorchers will be happy with anything even scored here. And that's gone through to the keeper off the edge of the bat. And Searle, in trying to run one down to third, has actually only been able to deflect it into the gloves of Coulter Riley. And the 7th wicket falls with just 92 on the board. And the Scorchers will be delighted.
And that's the big wicket there of Searle. She was the one with the maturity to be able to guide them through the rest of the innings.
And that leaves the Typhoons in a very precarious position with numbers 8 and 9 at the wicket.
Still a good deal of the innings to go.
Zara Craig, the new bat in at number 9. She had a good club game during the week. Came out on the losing side, unfortunately, but she was one of the Super Series players who lit up the stage down in Sydney Parade on Thursday.
And she's certainly capable. She showed that for many seasons now, both with bat and ball. Known as a bit more of a bowling all-rounder, but the Typhoons are going to need every bit of her batting prowess for the rest of this innings to get themselves through to a decent total.
Nicely fielded in the ring again.
Again, McNally with a nice, strong, technically sound shot to Lewis, but not too helpful for the team if she wants to be scoring.
Less power, more direction required. Steer it away from those fielders. And again, Lewis with fine fielding inside the ring.
It's a good call there from McNally. Zara Craig of the Northwest is due to face her first ball. Same field as what they've got for McNally. Got a deep cover, deep square.
Maguire using that shorter pitch ball again. It's been very successful for her today. I think we've seen her bowl more of that short pitch bowling today than we have in the rest of the series combined.
I think you're right, and in terms of her entire career, it's not something that she'd bring out quite this frequently.
Proving to be very effective against what are in fact tail enders now.
Sure, and here in Ireland, especially in the women's game, we do so much training on the front foot. I'd say 90% of the balls that we play, especially on the low wickets, are on the front foot. So a lot of the girls don't necessarily have a plan if the ball's a bit short, rising on you.
This one clipped away on the leg side. Skipper Leopold does the fielding. The Scorchers, well, they'll be thinking anything under a runner ball is going to be a win for them.
That's right, and the way they're going at the moment, it sounds like it's very realistic.
Typhoons just picking up every additional run they can, wherever they can, and that's the end of the over. The score has moved on to 94 for 7.
And that's yet another great spell from Jane Maguire. 1 for 16 off her 4 overs. as you've mentioned, Craig, a great exponent of the shorter ball, and one of the only people we've seen this series to bowl it.
And it proved very effective today.
Certainly, and it'll be something to think about for other seamers who are capable of getting the ball up.
.94 for 7, just 4 overs remaining. The Typhoons on the sideline will be hoping to see that score moving ahead now. Alice Tector to bowl the 18th over. And whilst Alice is bowling so well, one wonders where the Typhoons' runs are going to come from.
And it's a good question when we see the shots they're playing at the moment. They haven't really given us much innovation.
Just pulled into the leg side by Zara Craig.
It's hard coming in this situation when Alice Tector's only gone for 9 off her 3.2 overs. The top order struggled to hit her all day. And then now what's effectively the tail enders are expected to be able to score more than 6 and over off her. It's tough duty for the tail enders. I'll always be sympathetic with them.
This one a bit shorter from Tector, played away on the offside. Ellie McGee does some fine fielding, and it's just another single. And again, that score is only just creeping up now.
It is.
And it's hard to see where the power is going to come from.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting that Alice Tector, whilst taller and a bit quicker than Jane Maguire, you can see there the short ball doesn't get up in the same way that it would for Maguire.
As you say, it seems to be a strength issue where Maguire is really bowling into the pitch, whereas Tector is more getting it just to skim the pitch and come through.
Don't envy people facing her in 3 or 4 years' time when she's been in the full-time gym program.
Yes. And that's one of the things that has seen the cricket standard in Irish women's cricket be raised so quickly, so fast.
Definitely. It's fantastic to see.
Well, that one, finally, a boundary will bring up the 100. It was in the air for a while. Leah Paul thought she had a chance at it, had a dive. It got past her, and it ran away to the boundary, and that's 100 up.
And at this stage in the innings, these are the chances we love seeing the batters take. Across the line from Craig there, but very effective in the scorebook.
Well, that's it, really. It's not about how it looks now. It's about how many runs it brings forth.
And it's pushed Leah Paul back so that single was easy to take. And she retains the strike for next over, Zara Craig, the stronger of the two batters in terms of physicality and ability to hit boundaries.
7 wickets down for the Typhoons. Just a couple of overs to go now, but they'll be delighted to see triple figures on the board finally coming up.
They will, and there have been times throughout the day where it's been doubtful they'd get there, so they've got something to bowl at. Whilst not what they would have planned at the start of the innings, they do have a target that they can put pressure on the Scorchers, who have struggled to chase and struggled to score early runs. They can put some pressure on them.
Well, these two have managed to put 9 on together since they came together in the 16th over. Everyone vital for the Typhoons now.
We've got a change of end for Neve McNulty, who will bowl her last over. Been a consistent wicket taker in this tournament so far, and is quite used to bowling the last 2 overs of the game in club cricket. It's good learning for the young kids, the Thursday night club cricket. You bowl your overs, come back on for the last over, absolutely freezing cold.
Oh, that's a super catch.
Great catch.
Absolutely powered out towards Gabby Lewis's left. She dived, got both hands to the ball and took what made it look quite a simple catch when it was anything but.
That is brilliant from Lewis.
Super catch. Sees another Typhoon bat heading back. That's 8 wickets down now. And the score just 101.
And it's been a consistent theme of the day. Difficult catches made look easy. McNulty's given a bit of width. And Lewis has flown off to her left. Made it look like it was nothing.
Well, that's it. If you'd only caught the last bit of that,
Yeah.
which was Gabby Lewis getting up, you wouldn't think a wicket had fallen.
No, you wouldn't.
There wasn't any exuberant celebrations. It was just business as usual.
Yeah, another day in the life for Gabby Lewis. And having a player like Gabby Lewis there at extra cover who covers so much ground, throws well and will take tough catches, it makes it harder to score as a batter. It's such an important position, extra cover, when you're looking for those singles and to get the ball through the field.
Laura McBride, as you see from the graphics on your screen, is the new bat. And she comes in now. Just about an over and a bit to go. And McNulty continuing. She's now joint top wicket taker in the series this year. Georgina Dempsey has 7, and so now does McNulty.
And her willingness to use variations and the attacking line that she's been bowling, she's going to always be in the game.
Certainly not serving up anything easy to score runs off, and as you say, she's using, dare one say, all the tricks in her box just to try and get through the over. Well, this one in the air, it clears the ring. Claire Webber is chasing it down towards the boundary. Will she get that? Will it be held up? A superb piece of fielding, keeps the ball in field. Shauna Kavanagh does the tidying up. What a great chase from Claire Webber, and it just goes to show you may be bottom of the log, but every run matters.
It sure does. And for a team who have struggled to score runs, they will want to take every bit of pressure to get this win off themselves as possible.
Another one played out on the offside for a single. Shauna Kavanagh. That's some very nice tidying up out there. And that's 19 overs gone now. The score 105 for 8. Bless me.
Bless you, Craig. And another great spell from Neve McNulty, as we've said, has been successful in this tournament so far. For the Scorchers, 2 for 15 off her 4 overs. She'll be very happy with that.
2 for 15, those 2 wickets, as I say, taking her to 7 in this series. And she has been the leading wicket taker for the Scorchers throughout 2024 in this Evoke Series 20 trophy competition. We have the trophy with us here in the gazebo today. And a very nice trophy it is too. Well, it's quite a sensible shot from McNally. Just dropping it into the leg side and taking the single.
Very close to being 2 there as well. Would have been interesting if they pulled the trigger on that second run.
Chipped out on the leg side. Plenty of room out there now.
I'll be happy with that. However, the Scorchers singles are a win for themselves at this stage of the game.
Yes, the last thing the Scorchers will want is to have gone through this whole series without a win. That's a lovely shot. And it reaches the boundary. And it's a very welcome 4 runs. And this is a good over for the Typhoons.
That's potentially shot of the day there for mine.
Very much so. When you consider the situation and the score.
Certainly. And in women's cricket, we've really gone to dropping mid-wicket out altogether and having no short mid-wicket, but it opens up so much room there on the leg side, and I'm not always sure that it's the right way to go. If you have a short mid-wicket in there on the ring, it's potentially one.
Just to cut off any twos, really, as much as anything else. Again, just pulled around to the leg side. Jane Maguire doing the fielding on the boundary. It's another single. 1-1-2 for 8.
It's a bit of a different story for players that play 360, but you wouldn't expect to see that from number 8 and number 10 being able to lap behind the wicket, or it's certainly more likely to go to mid-wicket with these two batting.
Goes straight this time. Bounces just in front of the fielder, and they get through for a single.
It's well fielded.
And that is the end of the innings. And the Typhoons, well, they've done their batting, but the Scorchers will be the happier side. Score 1-1-3 for 8, which means the Scorchers will need 1-1-4, or alternatively, the Typhoons, if they're to win this game, have to restrict the Scorchers to less than 1-1-3, and it will be definitely a case whereby the Typhoons would like to have that innings again.
Definitely, yes. The constant falling of wickets and the inability to put together a partnership was detrimental to them scoring a score that they'd be happy with. As we've seen in this competition, any score can be competitive, but today Searle was the pick of the batters. 30 off 36, took her 15 overs to get those runs. Forbes at the start stayed with her and was able to score 14, and then no one else really got going other than Ava Canning with 14. McNally, a really lovely on drive at the end there, almost a run a ball, and McBride stayed with her at the end. So 113 for 8 off 20.
That last wicket stand of 12, just bring them up to a total that they feel they have a chance of defending. But as you see, Robin Searle, that's the common name down the left-hand side of your screen, and she was involved in a lot of partnerships that got going but never developed. As you were saying, it was that regular falling of wickets that just kept applying the handbrake to the Typhoons' innings. The biggest stand of the day was the opening stand, and after that it just sort of bits and pieces here and there.
And for the bowling, Maguire started off well, but ended up going for a few more runs, 1 for 29. It was Neve McNulty today who was the pick of the bowlers, going for, taking 2 wickets for 15 off her 4 overs, as well as Ellie McGee, 3 for 30 off her 4, and 1 wicket apiece for Maguire, Tector and Jane Maguire.
Well, you can see from the partnerships at the bottom, nothing really happened, and there is the summary as things stand. And it means that the Scorchers, in order to record their first victory of the Evoke Super 20 Series trophy, they will need to score 1-1-4. The Typhoons will need to restrict them to less than that in order to put some pressure on the Dragons in the second game this afternoon. So there we have it. We will rejoin you for the second innings of this first T20, and we hope that you'll join us too for a beautiful sunny day in Malahide. But for the moment, we'll say farewell.
honestly, that makes a massive difference just being on this side.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
So it's even herself.
You're very welcome back to Malahide Cricket Club for the run chase in this Evoke Super 20 trophy match between Scorchers and Typhoons. Well, Typhoons need to win to put pressure on the Dragons, who'll be playing this afternoon against the Scorchers. Dragons up on top of the table at the moment. These are the final games in this tournament. So if the Typhoons do not win this match, then the Dragons win before that game this afternoon. So the Typhoons defending 114 for victory. It's tough going for them with the bat in hand. The two umpires, Willie Clark and Steve Wood, have called the two teams onto the field for the second innings. Freya Sargent already had her cap in her hand before she even took to the field in preparation for opening the bowling for the Typhoons. I'm Isabel Joyce and delighted to have Ali McCalmont alongside. How do you see this one going, Ali?
Yeah, a bit of a stop-start innings there for the Typhoons, and it's really, as you've just mentioned, win or bust for them now. They've really got to go for everything here. Sometimes it can prove its own downfall because you try a little bit too hard to take wickets. I mean, the wicket doesn't look as if it's got too many demons in it, but they've got to give it everything here, and it's Sargent to open up. Again, spin with the opening over. She's bowling to Claire Webber, and of course Gabby Lewis at the non-striker's end. I think the key will be wickets in the power play here. They've got to really get into this Scorchers lineup. A little bit short with that one, and it's been a little bit brittle this year, the Scorchers lineup. I have to say that's why they're currently winless and can't win this T20 tournament. The batting has been a little bit brittle, so the Typhoons have got to feed off that and try and put them under pressure.
They really rely on Gabby Lewis and Leah Paul. Leah Paul will come in at number 4, you'd imagine. We saw Alice Tector warming up there, so I think she's retaining her spot at number 3 for the Scorchers as they look for their first win. They, of course, got some points on the board because the game was rained off last week. But yeah, winless, as you say. And Gabby Lewis just not in her usual good form. I will say that in the last few years she's made lots and lots of runs, but she's generally been dropped in a lot of games. That not really happening this year for her, not getting the look maybe she had in previous seasons. Ava Canning cutting that one off. So good ring fielding from the Typhoons as Claire Webber is struggling to get off the mark. They're still scoreless in this match, one delivery remaining in the over. Gabby Lewis just having a quick chat with Claire Webber, maybe just saying, look, it's only 114, don't panic. As there have been a few dicey looking calls out there. She was run out last week as well, Claire Webber, going after a single that just wasn't there.
Sargent to close out the over and does so really well. That's a maiden to start this innings for the Typhoons. And yeah, it's an interesting sort of dilemma for them here. You would think that 114 really shouldn't be not difficult to chase on this big ground. We mentioned it last stint we were on, that it is a big ground and you can pick up lots of runs in the spaces. Just, as I say, a little bit of a brittle line up at the minute, and confidence wise they'll be looking to these two to really just break the back of the chase early.
Yeah, this target is in the category of tricky little chases because 114, well, it looks easy. It's not 90, you know, like, and you'd nearly prefer chasing 135, and you know you have to get going. 114, you can kind of go into your shell a little bit. It's not quite, well, it's exactly a run of ball from here that they require. Ava Canning with the second over.
Yeah, it's misfield, so they'll get off the mark. Misfield just took her eye off the ball a little there.
Yeah, Zara Craig just going down the long barrier. The problem when you do that sometimes is that you don't watch the ball into the hands, which is what happened there. Just deflected off the knee. So not very costly, but does cost them one run, which will frustrate Ava Canning, no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's right, but in terms of the psychological aspect of the game, if you were chasing 80 or 90, got a different mindset, but it's still a run of ball. at square leg. So a run of ball still needs some sort of momentum in the game rather than just ticking along. You've still got to think about the cricket, but then also not think about hitting every ball for 4, which you would do if it was 160, 170. So it's again that mindset of getting a plan and knowing exactly what you're trying to do.
Really interesting to see the field they set here, the Typhoons, because they've only got one fielder on the boundary. That's Annabelle Squires in the deep and mid wicket, opting to leave 3 in the ring on the leg side, 5 on the off side, and obviously just thinking we need to be really tight up top to win the game. So they're putting it all on the line, really.
When he's down the leg side, it'll be a wide plus the run. Yeah, I think they started with 2. We'll see now as Gabby Lewis comes back on. I think they did start with 2 on the boundary, and yeah, they are going to put that second fielder out. But yeah, good thinking from the captain to say, okay, well, we've got to create something here, and so rather than just formulaically go with 2 outside, let's try something different. I've got 2 out for Lewis though. That's well bowled.
Yeah, square leg dropped out to the boundary for that delivery. Disappointing, Joanna Loughran didn't collect the ball for that wide because Claire Webber had preemptively shuffled down the pitch, so it could have been an opportunity for a stumping had she collected.
Yeah, she's been pretty tidy on the games I've watched, both live and online. She's been pretty tidy behind the stumps. But again, it's like every aspect of the game we talk about, it's taking it to the next level then, and you know, exactly like that, a little bit more of a difficult take. Can you sort of create that opportunity maybe down the leg side?
It's a really difficult skill, no doubt, but it could have been the first wicket for the Typhoons. Robin Searle just collecting that one, so it's a really slow start this from the Scorchers. 3 without loss after 2. They're almost just piling the pressure on themselves here, the Scorchers, by scoring slowly. Gabby Lewis, no fault can be found really with her. 1 from 4, but it's Claire Webber, 0 from 8, who's struggling to get going here in the final game for the Typhoons in the Evoke Super 20 trophy. There is, of course, one more game this afternoon. Dragons taking on the Scorchers, and that one at 3:15.
Well, I'm sure, I know a lot of players obviously from the Dublin area and the Dragons, but there's quite a few up from the north. It's coach as well, James Cameron Diane. I'm sure they're on their way down at the minute. They'll have their Scorchers uniforms on as we speak. They'll be hoping that the Scorchers can do them a favour here and they can play in that game this afternoon as T20 champions, but still plenty on here, and Georgina Dempsey comes into the attack. Starts with a dot ball, beating the bat.
I think probably in this trophy it's been the bowlers who've impressed the most rather than the batters. When you think about the standout players, Georgina Dempsey's been one of them. I think we saw a few of them in the first innings there with Amy Maguire, Alice Tector, Niamh McNulty. Those youngsters impressing. Big shout. And Joanna Loughran again, just not able to pick the ball up. And that shouldn't be a single there. Gabby Lewis managing to get on strike. But let's have a look here because it was a big shout. And it's just going down leg side. So an easy decision for Willie Clark there. But yeah, the standouts have been the bowlers. So Georgina Dempsey from this team, Freya Sargent as well. And then from the Dragons perspective, Alana Dalzell, you can't really look past her.
As well bowled from Dempsey again.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still thinking about the players, the stand-up players. Jane Maguire as well. I feel like I need to mention everyone.
Yeah, I know the bowlers have definitely excelled in the tournament so far. There hasn't been, a massive score. You would say, well, the bowling has been so poor that it's been up 180, 200.
Yeah,
we've seen before, but certainly when you look at the Dragons, who do sit at the top of the table, when you look at their bowling lineup, they've really got a lot of bases covered and very experienced lineup. And finally, Webber gets one off the middle and lifts it over the cover region. Make her feel a little bit better as she gets a boundary. taking her off the mark to 4 from 11.
She moved leg side of this one, which we've seen a bit from Claire Webber. This is the first time she's been successful, though. Just shuffling her feet to leg side. She knows Dempsey's going to bowl straight, gives herself the arms and finds the space over the offside.
Nicely bowled. Dempsey, she attempted the same option there, did Webber. Taking a good stride away to the leg side to try and open up that offside. Dempsey kind of followed her, but a little bit difficult for a bowler. We're talking about how well they've done, but that previous delivery, it was hit for 4, was right on the middle stump, and it was just the sort of angle had been created by the batter.
Yeah, good clever bowling from Dempsey following her. So just the boundary and a couple of leg buys in that one. After 3, Scorchers are 9 without loss. I suppose the without loss thing is the bit that they'll be pleased about. The 9 part, not so much. Typhoons have plenty of bowling options. Interesting to see Sarah Forbes get a bowl. We didn't see her last weekend, and the previous week she'd taken some important wickets, those of Amy Hunter and Norda Prendergast. Didn't get a bowl then the next week, which is a surprise. So they have her. They've got Lara McBride, another slow off spinner, Zara Craig as well. Julie McNally, I would say we'll see her at some point. No Laura Delaney, of course. She usually bowl her full complement when playing. And that's a strong looking shot down the ground. Gabby Lewis just got the length she was looking for. One bounce over the rope, and Ava Canning has work to do to pull this over back. 4 off the first delivery.
Yeah, we'll just see that one again. Just Ava Canning's usual in swing, pulls it wide of the crease, too wide, and gives Gabby Lewis a little bit of width, and she throws the bat at it and hits it clean over, and she's gone again, and this time she's gone square. And a really good clean contact from Lewis, and that sails over the boundary, and just within 2 shots she changes the whole dynamic of the Scorchers innings.
She's going with the movement here. Slog sweep from Lewis. It's a risky shot, but it's paid off, and if she can just get one big over here, it'll break the back of this run chase for the Scorchers and ruin things for the Typhoons, as the Typhoons look to put some pressure on the Dragons, who have their final game later this afternoon. Just pulls her length back there, Canning. But the damage is done in the over. 10 from the first 2 deliveries is difficult to come back from.
Well, it is, and all the pressure then put on, and we see a lot of players these days targeting the first ball of an over, and that does just quickly within 2 balls just change the whole dynamic there. We're now 19 off 3.3, so just going at right about that run a ball now, clipped into the leg side, and will just be single as the deep square leg fields. Deep square leg will come up into the circle now. Julie McNally was down on the boundary, but for Claire Webber, they have decided to bring up the deep square leg and send out mid on, back to long on. So your 2 fielders on the boundary now, long on and deep mid wicket. That'll be fielded in the ring. Mistimed again by Webber. Just really got that one shot in the last over.
Yeah, she just hasn't looked comfortable, and I think that's shown by the fact she's 4 from 14, and that 4 was just from 1 delivery, so 13 dots that she's faced, and she does look frustrated. I'm sure Gabby Lewis will be trying to will her to not give it away here. She almost does. Rebecca Stokel doesn't manage to cut that one off, so it's dealing in boundaries for Claire Webber. Didn't get great connection, but got the direction. So second boundary for her.
Yeah, it was almost a perfect commentator call there, Izzy, because I thought that was in the air for quite a long time. She hadn't really timed it, but just as we've seen here today, the outfield has definitely quickened up with this sunshine, is it? Sunshine? Sunshine, yeah.
Is that what we have?
Yeah, it's really quickened up this morning, and once it beat the infield there, it ran away for 4. So that takes the score to 24.
I have to. I can't let the moment completely pass without just calling out our co-commentator, Craig, in the distance there. He got the opportunity to field one, went to pass it back to the fielder, threw it straight up in the air, almost landed on his own head. So
I was sparing his blushes.
he. I think he was just trying to make the fielder feel comfortable. You know,
It was whenever
made
the
a
ball
joke.
came back down to the earth, it was a sheepish look back to us to say,
Yeah.
please tell me you didn't see that.
It actually managed to get underneath the bench as well, so he had to fetch it in the end. So he got 2 bites of the cherry, managed to give it to the fielder, Zara Craig, in the end. It's Georgina Dempsey to bowl the 5th here. A strong looking shot, just misfielded slightly. Well, this is brilliant touch from Claire Webber. She's looked completely out of sorts, but then gets a tiny bit of width and just allows the ball to roll off the face of the bat backward of point. 3rd too fine to cut it off. So, and 3rd boundary for her.
Yeah, that's a nice shot there. Just used the pace and just timed it to the left of point. And as we've mentioned, the ball is skimming across the turf here at Malahide. Really nicely getting value for your shots. Nicely pulled.
I think that shot illustrates what we were talking about it being a big field because it's so quick. 3rd has had to go much squarer because of that boundary. If you got a thin edge, that's going to go for 4 because she's moved squarer. And on other pitches, that wouldn't have run away. So it's easier to defend than Malahide. And that's why I'm so surprised it was such a low total from the Typhoons.
Dempsey in again. Weber again goes leg side. The umpire sort of he indicated he was going to give that as a wide and then decided to drop the arms with Claire Webber moving across to the leg side.
I was going to say, I think he thought, wow, that was really far away from the batter, and then realised that actually Webber was almost at square leg, favouring backing away and trying to play through the offside. Stays this time and pushes it into square leg for a single.
Yeah, it's a good contest there between those two as to which wins out. As I say, Claire Webber is indicating that she's trying to open up the offside by stepping away to leg. Dempsey has initially decided to try and stay on the stumps, but it's a difficult one because if you try to follow her then and she stays still, you're going to bowl wides. Bowls to Lewis now. It goes in the air. She's going to get lucky here. It's going to float over the top of Julie McNally. That's what you're talking about with Gabby this year. That those balls have gone to hand and she's lost her wicket.
Those balls have gone to hand and the catches have been taken is the big difference. 31 without loss after 5. And I thought when that went in the air, I thought, okay, she's done it again. She just tends to give a chance. Those are the 2 openers. They're still out there. They're pretty much on the same score, just 1 in the difference, but Lewis finding things much easier, 14 from 11. Webber, 3 boundaries are helping in that total for 13 from 19 deliveries. The bowlers have all done well, especially Freya Sargent, who bowled the 6th over. She bowled a maiden first up. She's swapping ends now. Canning a bit expensive. And I just find myself watching Ava Canning and wondering, is someone going to take that opening bowling spot? There are lots of contenders putting the hand up in T20s now that can swing the ball both ways, and she does look like someone who doesn't really have an answer. If you do take her on, she doesn't have many change-ups to turn to.
That's pulled into the leg side and there is no fielder there now. As we mentioned, the deep square leg in the previous over for Canning, seam bowler, had been brought up into the ring for Freya Sargent, a little bit short on that occasion, down leg side, and Gabby Lewis isn't going to miss out there.
That's help yourself time. It's pretty short and down leg. It's definitely not something you want to be serving up to Gabby Lewis. Well, we did mention Irish Cup and National Cup semi-finals today. Marion up in Instonians. Instonians won the toss, elected to.
Oh, they'll bowl first.
Yeah, they did. They went to bowl first, you're right. This is the chance.
Chance for Stokel. And there's what we're talking about. Straight down to Rebecca Stokel. She makes no mistake, and Freya Sargent gets her revenge. Bowled a poor ball. She was put away for 4. But one in the right spot. And Lewis attempts to go over mid-off. Doesn't time it. And yeah, that's the kind of thing we've just been discussing. That, you know, for a player of her quality, she really should be scoring more runs and not given these chances, and more importantly, not given the chance to be dismissed.
Yeah, I find myself shaking my head because this is just not needed. Freya Sargent took the pace off there a little bit. To be fair to Gabby Lewis, Rebecca Stokel up in the ring. She would back herself to beat that fielder more often than not. Goes for 18, and Scorchers lose one of their top dogs, Gabby Lewis. 35 for 1 now. Alice Tector, the new batter, in at number 3. Still strange to see Phoenix CC next to her name. Grew up playing all of her cricket for the YMCA Cricket Club, which unfortunately is no more. So she's moved to Phoenix, where I'm sure they're glad to have her.
Most definitely.
Well, the other semi-final, I can't ignore the other semi-final. Phoenix CIYMS. Phoenix won the toss, batting first. They're 9 for none.
I'd say they'll bat first, yep. At the park.
Why did you guess that?
Just
Estonians will
obviously
bowl
with
first?
my NCU hat on, I've seen quite a lot of Estonians this year, and any time that they've batted first, they've really struggled to put a score on the board. Not really to do with any thoughts about the wicket or anything like that, although it has been obviously, let's say, very moist in the north for the past sort of eternity.
It doesn't rain in Northern Ireland, does it?
It does a little. It does a little. And I think the wicket will be fine. It's just that yesterday, for example, only scoring 180 Estonians, and 130 the week before. So despite the fact that they've got a really strong batting lineup, I thought they might try and insert the opposition and try and chase it down then. So I think it's a tough ask against Marion today. But as I say, they have a really strong batting lineup, having Estonians. It'll be an interesting game. Claire Webber just plays that into the offside. Gets 1. So a successful over for the Typhoons brings it to the end of the power play, and they have moved on at just over a run a ball to 37 for 1. Myself and Izzy will take a little break now, and you'll be joined by Celeste Rack and Craig Senior.
Well, another exciting power play. Wicket falling in the 6th over. And this is very evenly balanced. It may not be the runs galore that we expect from T20, but this is a very intriguing game now. Gabby Lewis out. It'll be interesting to see how the Scorchers approach this chase now.
Definitely. Gabby Lewis's flying start really looked like it was going to take the pressure off them, but with her falling, this becomes a much more balanced game. We've seen, as Craig and I were talking about while we were listening to Craig and Iz, there hasn't been a huge amount of intent for singles from Claire Webber at this stage.
Claire Webber already has faced 21 deliveries, 14 runs, and 12 of those came from 3 shots. So it just goes to show how many dot balls she's faced, and that's the thing you want to avoid in T20s.
Certainly, and she's just been sweating on that boundary ball. And for instance, there, she's had a huge swing at the ball. She hasn't got any of it, and it's another dot. Whereas if she put that ball just through the gap there to deep cover, pressure would be off. She'd be off strike. She'd have another run to a tally.
It's not only pressure on herself that she's putting it on the rest of the line out. That's much better from Webber. This time dropping in into a gap, getting through for the single quite handily. And perhaps maybe it is actually the change of partner now with Alice Tector with her, that she will be far more willing to take those singles and look for those just 1s and 2s.
It's understandable that it could be tricky to figure out how to bat when you're batting with Gabby Lewis. She's a bit of an enforcer. She plays great shots in different areas to what Webber would. But in my mind, that should make the game even more simple. Get Gabby on strike.
Yep. Again, we were saying it in the first innings with Robin Searle going through 7 partners, that the unwillingness, or for whatever reason, of partners to just try and give the strike to the batter who's in.
And sometimes young players think they need to do more in T20 than just hit the ball through the gap and run. But if you take this innings, for instance, they only need 6 runs and over. Alice Tector is well capable of hitting singles and pushing the ball into gaps. And if she's able to fulfill that role, she'll be doing a great job for a team.
It's exactly what they need at the moment. They need somebody like Robin Searle did for the Typhoons, just to stand tall and then let others bat around her. Maybe Alice Tector is the one to fulfill that role for the Scorchers.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. Very well played by Alice Tector. And she would have taken a lot of confidence out of her innings in the last couple of weekends.
Not only the last couple of weekends, but also for her club. Who's top scored for Phoenix during the week in the league. So we know that the potential is there. Myself and Claire Webber having discussions now. Freya Sargent it will be to bowl the 8th over. It will be her 3rd. She took a wicket in her last over, so no surprise that Rebecca Stokell has turned to her again, now outside the power play.
She's another one of these young spinners who has really stood up to the challenge of the new ball against some of the best batters in the country and got the better of Gabby Lewis today. That's very well played there from Tector. Very clever. Used the pace of the ball.
Fabulous boundary, showing that you don't need the big backswing and the big hit to reach the boundary rope. A deft touch, just played away. There's big open spaces there, and the ball had plenty of time in which to find the rope. 43 on the board now, just 71 required, and they're breaking the back of this chase.
They are, and this is an important partnership for the Scorchers, these two. If they can get through a good amount of these runs together before losing a wicket, it will really put them in a good position to chase this score down.
The Scorchers ahead of where the Typhoons were at the same time in their innings. It's going to have to be some exceptionally tight bowling and fielding if they're going to restrict the runs. Far more likely that they're going to be wanting to take another 9 wickets and close out the innings that way. Typhoons, of course, need to win this game to go top of the table in this Evoke Super 20 Trophy competition.
And it's well bowled there from Sargent, keeping tight lines, not giving Tector too much room, as we've seen in the previous innings. Width has made it easy on this pitch to score. And we've had 4 consecutive dots here from Sargent, so one thinks something may happen this ball.
Well, that's a smart move. They've made the move bringing somebody over from the leg side to fill that gap at 3rd. That's where Tector did score the boundary off the first ball. You can see Freya Sargent desperately trying to keep it outside off, away from Tector. Just the 3 fielders on the leg side now. 2 of them on the boundary. Ava Canning mid-on.
The advantage with bowling to Tector is we know she plays quite traditional, and she's very unlikely to back away to the offside and hit you through leg or lap you or do anything too risky early in her innings. So I think that's a very good tactical change from Sargent.
So after 7 overs, the score has moved on to 44 for 1. The 2 bats, Alice Tector and Claire Webber. Well, Webber has moved on to 15 now. Tector on 6. But again, nobody's really grabbing this game by the neck, scruff of the neck. We're just meandering through. How the Scorchers would love to record 2 wins today.
It'll make a big difference when they reflect on their season if there's 2 wins in the column compared to none. and their bowling attack has warranted some more success than what they've deserved. They've really ended up showing. It's been their batting, as we've said, that's let them down.
That's what makes this target of 114 quite awkward for the Scorchers. This one comes off the edge of Webber's bat. It will be a single. Down to third. But again, I don't think the Typhoons will be too upset at the occasional single. What they're managing to do is stop the boundaries, stem the flow of boundaries, try and put some scoreboard pressure back onto the Scorchers.
Despite the amount of boundaries that they have scored, the required run rate is still quite a bit lower than the current run rate is still quite a bit lower than the required. As it hits 6, if that creeps up any more, it does increase the challenge.
This one escapes down the leg side. A couple onto the total. The extras column grows again. Approaching the halfway mark. Just an over and a half to go before we reach the halfway mark, and the question is, how many do the Scorchers want to leave for the second half to get, as Webber crashes one through extra, and really that ran away to the boundary straight off the bat, and that brings up the 50.
And that is short and wide, and exactly what Webber's been waiting for to get her hands through. Exactly in her wheelhouse. She's quite strong when she's given a lot of space, and there's no stopping that, no matter how many they have there in the covers.
This one's slipping down the leg side, and it also gets past Lockram with the gloves. Fielders converging from all over to it, but none of them are going to stop 2 runs being taken.
That overcorrection that we see quite often, too wide and then too straight.
Well, this is the thing about T20. Run rate suddenly has leapt above 6, and the required rate has leapt below 6, just from the few wides of this over.
That's a hard thing when you're in the bowling team and you're defending a low score.
Oh, it just clears the fielder at mid-on, Rebecca Stokell. One of the taller players on the field, but she needed another foot or two to get to that one. And Webber powers another one for a boundary.
Webber has made the decision, it seems, that this is the over.
Again, not a huge amount of footwork, but hand-eye coordination absolutely spot on. And that's what powered it through to the boundary.
It's important for McNally to finish this over off and finish it well, which she has.
Well, Webber maybe taking most of the strike at this stage, but she's nearly at a runner ball herself.
Yep.
So maybe she's made the most of that start that she made, and now is going to push on. With the departure of Gabby Lewis, I'm sure Webber is well aware of the responsibility on her.
It does show that there isn't the need to panic that you sometimes might think there is when you're batting out there. She was 14 off 24, I think it was, and it looked like there was a lot of pressure on her, and all it takes is one good over, and you've turned it around.
Well, the Scorchers are over halfway now in their pursuit of 113 that the Typhoons scored. And with the loss of only 1 wicket, you'd have to think that the Scorchers are favourites now, but it wouldn't take much to break this partnership. Maybe another quick wicket, 1 or 2 quick wickets, and suddenly this game could swing the way of the Typhoons again.
And we've seen with the Scorchers, while they have got some great top order batters that are very well regarded and experienced, it's a great shot.
Well, that really is a super shot, played out through extra, another 4. Webber hitting her straps now.
It's a brilliant shot there from Webber on the up. But yes, the depth and experience of the Scorchers in their lower order, they've got a lot of younger players and they've been put under a lot of pressure this season already.
Well, that was, in my opinion, just a rush of blood to the head, having hit a glorious four the ball before. Webber on this occasion, it's gone right across her stumps, missed the ball, and it's castled her. Disappointing end to the innings for Claire Webber. There's nobody to blame but herself for that dismissal, and not one that a coach will want to look back on, I suspect.
Just when the Scorchers were gaining some momentum after that big last over off McNally, the Typhoons have managed to swing it back in their favour, and Paul is going to have to rebuild here with Alice Tector in order to get that advantage again.
Well, Webber departs. She scored 28. It took her 30 deliveries. Strike rate not too bad, certainly in excess of what was needed. But you'll see there she hit 6 fours. Then that's 24 out of her total. And just not taking singles, not pushing the ball around, and not trying to give the strike to a partner. And that's what's cost her in the end. She went for the big blows, and she wanted one deep to leg on that occasion, but missed the ball. And Freya Sargent picks up her second wicket in the innings. Typhoons now will start to think that maybe they're back into this game. They don't have many runs to play with now, just 51 required, but the door is opening for them.
It is, and Leah Paul has scored a lot of runs in this series. She's been the most successful batter from the Scorchers by some way. But as we've seen, if Leah Paul isn't successful in this game and gets out, there haven't been a huge amount of runs scored by the middle and lower order.
Freya Sargent going around the wicket to the left-hander. The captain of the Scorchers now facing her first delivery.
Paul hit 98 on Thursday against Balbriggan for Marion. Admittedly, there will be a different level of bowling attack that she's facing in this game. Balbriggan are new to Division 1 and have risen to the challenge.
What a tight division that is at the moment, the Division 1 Sprint Coatings Women's Division 1. And Pembroke out front. That's reached the halfway stage, that league now.
Yep.
I was looking at the league table before the last round of games, and everybody has won 2 games. 2 teams have won 3 games, and 1 team have won 6 games.
It feels like, even though Pembroke have been the best team this year, it does seem like anyone can beat anyone on their day at the moment.
And that even includes the teams that have come up from Division 2, like Balbriggan. They've really done well on their appearance in the top league. I'm sure the second half of the season we'll see a bit more stretching of that league table. But the way it stands at the moment, it's superb. So there is the card so far. Webber and Lewis, well, they got off to a good start before the first wicket fell with the score on 35. But since then, it's kind of been a bit turgid, really. And the departure of Webber in the last over, bowled by Sargent, well, that could be putting the handbrake on for the Scorchers. Halfway through this innings now. As I say, 50 runs required from the second 10 overs. 8 wickets in hand. And ordinarily, you'd say that this game is meandering to the result you expect, but we've seen so many twists and turns in this series, in this game, where players getting themselves out, or this one just...
That's right. One thing for the Typhoons is they've already bowled Freya Sargent out, so 2 for 17 off her 4 there. Great spell, the wicket taker. I bet they wish they could bowl her ongoing 8 overs in a row for the rest of the day.
Just let her take one end and sort out the bowling from the other. It would make captaincy a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Sure would.
So Alice Tector to face now. She's slowly accumulating runs. She had that lovely 4 down to 3rd early on in her innings.
The off spin of Sarah Forbes into the attack certainly a slower off-spinner than Freya Sargent. Can often attract a big shot that wasn't necessary. She certainly invites people to come forward.
She's been opening the bowling for her club side and has been successful doing so. This one taken on to the leg side, and the spin beats the field up. Freya Sargent misjudging that one. It runs away for a boundary, and that's the sort of thing that the Typhoons really can't afford with so few runs left to defend. And it's 4 runs onto the Scorchers total.
It's demoralising for the bowler as well. If you look at your over and that's gone for 1, you can finish none for 4 at the end of the over. But once you get hit for a boundary, that blows out your figures.
It's lifted, bounces in front of Robin Searle at mid-off. Still, just 5 coming from this over. Nice bit of fielding by Zara Craig. And that sees us through Sarah Forbes' first over. There are 11 gone now, and the score 69 for 2. At the same stage, the Typhoons were 60 for 3. So, slight advantage to the Scorchers, but nothing that you'd want to be putting your mortgage on, one suspects. Looks like the return of Ava Canning from the Dublin Road end. She'll be bowling to the left-handed skipper of the Scorchers, Leah Poole.
Be pleased to be bowling without Gabby Lewis on strike after the last over she bowled. Gabby Lewis got on top of her. Canning will be bringing the ball away from the left-hander even after 10 overs.
Well, the first ball would have been a lovely ball for a right-hander. Unfortunately, Leah Poole left-handed, so signalled a wide.
She's thrown many people off. I always think it's unusual how few left-handers we have in Ireland.
It's good that we have some, because you're going to come up against them in international cricket. So you need some experience with left-handers. And not only how to bowl against them, but how to set a field against them.
For sure. Angles are different. And even as a spinner, when you're choosing which end of the ground you want to bowl from, you can't just choose the short boundary to the right-hander. Sometimes when there's a big, strong lefty in.
Yeah. Left-handers mess up all sorts of plans, really.
Hated them as a leg spinner myself.
Well, that almost looked like it was played on.
She's moved a long way across Leopold. I can see. It was very close, wasn't it?
It was. Came back off the keeper's glove and removed a bail to no avail. This occasion, Paul with a far fuller stroke. Plays it out on the leg side, takes the single. A few changes to the field now for Alice Tector. Stokel Canning conferring.
And Canning's big challenge over the last few years has been finding her identity as a second spell bowler. She gets such huge in-swing at the start that she's just been able to rely on. And then in the second spell, when that's not there, in international cricket, it's been harder for her to have a plan against some of the best batters in the world. So for Canning, being able to bring in some slower balls, being able to have some variation has been the challenge.
That's part of education as a bowler, isn't it? When you realise that, especially pace bowlers, that your pace isn't going to get everybody out. You have to figure out other ways to do it.
It's almost a bit of a curse for Canning early in her career that she got so much movement and so much bounce that she never really had to search for anything else.
So another over slides by. 71 for 2 now off 12. And again, the mark between the two teams after 12 overs. The Typhoons reached 65 for 3. And the Scorchers now 71 for 2. So 6 runs ahead and a wicket to the good means that we expect them to be in the box seat. But we've seen it before. It only takes a good over for the Typhoons and the pressure will start coming back on to the Scorchers.
And it takes one over, as you said, and Leopold is a big wicket at the moment.
Well, these two doing a fine job. The last wicket fell 9 runs ago, but already these two are settling into a pattern and they seem to be running well together.
That's well bowled from Forbes. The invitation is there if Tector really wants to go over the top. She's 11 off 22, so she'll be feeling a little bit of pressure in the back of her mind.
Out to the boundary for a single. Scorchers will be happy enough with these singles. They're just making what is a small total of runs required come down. Nice delivery from Forbes. Paul thought that that was 1 for her and then changed her mind, realised it wasn't quite where she wanted it to be.
Good decision in the end.
Manufactured shot from Paul sees her gain another single. Field all changes, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. It's all go out there in the middle. At the end of this over, Celeste and myself will be taking a break, and it'll be Ali and Izzy to see you through to the end of this innings, the end of this game, and then we'll know what's required in the final. 75 for 2 with a late overthrow after 13 overs, at which stage we'll make the change in the commentary box.
Because there was an overthrow. So, thinking from Paul and Tector, both struggling to score, but they don't have to go at too big a rate to chase this down. 38 required from 42 deliveries. But they definitely both need to up their scoring rate, each on about 50% strike rate. Lara McBride being handed the ball to see can she do something here. They need a few very tight overs or a couple wickets, but preferably both.
Preferably both for the team in blue, and as we've mentioned a few times, they've got to do it now on these last 7 overs. This is their last game of the Evoke T20 competition. McBride comes in and they'll take on Rebecca Stokel. Good pressure from Leopold, exactly as you're talking about. Don't want to get stuck at one end, so let's put a bit of pressure on the field. And yeah, 2 ways of building pressure for the Typhoons, as you say, Izzy. Try and get through a few quick overs here and get that run rate up above a run a ball, or take a few wickets, which naturally then will slow up the rate again. So the opposite then for the Scorchers, and their motivation will be to just keep strike rotated here, and the proof of the pudding will be in these. If they win the game, these two, then the strike rate won't matter.
Well, Lara McBride very, very slow through the air, so they're asking Alice Tector and Leopold to create all of the momentum. We saw Paul using her feet, and that helped her as well take that single because she was Well, we're already halfway there. The field has been changed for Alice Tector. They're really piling the pressure on the youngster because she has struggled to get it through the offside. So Robin Searle it is. She was in third the previous over. She's been moved into a kind of a catching cover. She's in there to try and help create dot balls for Lara McBride, and that delivery did get hit straight to her. And the wicket's taken. So Joanna Loughran collects neatly behind the stumps. Lara McBride gave it some air. Alice Tector decided to run down, misses, and is stumped. So 14 she goes for. 27 deliveries. So the Scorchers lose their third. 77 for 3.
Yeah, you kind of called that a little bit, that Alice Tector, although she was still there, the scoring rate had been squeezed a little bit from the Typhoons, and clearly there she wanted to inject a little bit of momentum into the shot. Comes down the wicket and plays inside the ball, and as you say, sometimes keepers, when the ball is clearly coming past the bat, they sort of come forward a little bit, but Joanna Loughran did well to wait on the ball, clean into the gloves, and able to effect a fairly simple stumping in the end.
Well, she's changed to off spin recently, Lara McBride, and she was just an up and down swing bowler before that, and that looked like a little arm ball. So clever bowling from her. Christina Coulter-Riley in her new position for the Scorchers in at number 5. She had been opening up, but after struggling to score, she's been put down at 5, and it'll be a big feather in the cap if she can just shepherd her side over the line here in this run chase.
Start from McBride again, and you're right, they've changed the field again. Robin Searle's gone back into that position behind on 45, so opened up that cover area again.
I'm not really sure why she has a third.
I'd have kept her in the same position, yeah.
I think when there's that little pace on the ball, that ball's gone exactly where Robin Searle had been. When there's that little pace on the ball, even if she does dab it down to third, it's probably only 1. Absolute worst case scenario, it's 2. But it's the end of that over for Lara McBride. A really good one, just the 2 runs and the wicket in it. And after 14, the Scorchers 78 for 3.
Yeah, so we're exactly at that point now. You can see on your screen there, runs to win 36, balls remaining 36. So exactly a run a ball now with 7 wickets in hand. You would always favour the batting side, but you still got to get those runs, and we've noticed there just in our little break that there's a team in red sitting over to the right here who have arrived ahead of their game.
They obviously took their orange kit off on the bus.
Yeah, the Scorchers kit's been dispensed with, and they've got their proper Dragons kit on, because as we've mentioned a few times, if the Scorchers do get over the line here, that will help the Dragons take them to an unassailable lead. But still plenty in this game here.
It certainly is. I don't think that they've quite made a meal of this, the Scorchers, but they're making heavy work of it. A little ramp from Christina Coulter-Riley, full toss from Sarah Forbes, so she helps it over the head of the wicketkeeper. It'll just be a couple. Lara McBride doing the tidying up.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we're talking about, is picking gaps now. I wouldn't have picked straight over the keeper's head as a gap, but that's fair enough. But yeah, definitely that's the one area they'll probably look back on and say, could we have manipulated the ball a little bit better into gaps? A lot of dot balls.
Well, they've done a lot of hitting the ball to the field on the offside when it's been outside off stump, but what they could have done is actually just steer it into the leg side where there had often been no fielders. And especially Alice Tector, there was nobody in the ring on the leg side aside from mid-on, so she just literally got a shovel out and just shoveled it into the leg side from outside off stump. That's the kind of delivery just there, where your stumps aren't in play. There's no real risk, so just chip it into the leg side, or even dab it between point and backward point and scamper for a single.
That's short. That's got away with it a little bit. A little bit of a short delivery from Sarah Forbes, and just with the slowness of the delivery, it is easy for Coulter-Riley to play the shot. It was a little bit aerial. She gets 2. So a couple of 2s in this over. But again, 3 dot balls, which is what we'll be looking at towards the end of this innings. Want to restrict those dot balls. That's thrown up in the air. That's worked on the leg side. But again, another dot ball. And I just think Leah Paul needs to sort of get down to Coulter Riley and make a plan here to say we are going to start to be a little bit more energetic between the stumps here and try and get through for singles, and just give even the impression to the fielders that we are going to be looking for singles here.
Yeah, and she just needs a bit more strike as well. Leopold, she's on 6 from 11. She's been out there for a good long time. She just hasn't got that much strike. 6 from 11. It doesn't feel like she's struggled to score. A lot of the batters have struggled to score, but she's looked comfortable. Coulter Riley has looked probably less comfortable, even though she's 5 from 8. Lara McBride continuing. Footwork again from Paul. So if they can each bat like that, that's the exact right shot. The field is out, just push it out to the boundary field, just take one, and then a loose delivery will help as well.
That's exactly it. You know, let's get a plan here together and say where can we score. Mid off has come up into the circle for Coulter Riley.
Well, it's one of 2 ways as well for Coulter Riley. Can she just be brave? Can she take on the field mid off and mid on inside the ring? It's a gamble from the Typhoons. They're saying, right, if you're going to score runs, you're going to have to go over us.
That's nicely played, pulled backward. Well fielded. Did she keep it in? The ball trickling towards the... Oh, well done from Julie McNally. Leopold's called through for 3. And clean gather as well from John O'Loughlin there. Could have had Coulter Riley still in a little bit of bother. She hadn't responded at all.
I was watching the 2 batters instead of the fielder there, because I knew Leopold, if there's going to be one person here that would think about running 3 there, it's Leopold. On the whole ground, it would be her. But she ran about halfway before she called Christina Coulter Riley down.
Yeah, this is the over we're talking about, where they've been able to manipulate the ball into gaps and pick up the ones, and then the extra runs come when a good shot is played. So they've got that 3, a couple of singles, and then the run rate's very, very manageable.
Yeah, that required run rate just going slightly above 1 a ball.
That's nicely played there. Into the gap on the leg side. Takes the 1.
Yeah, well worked with the spin there from Coulter Riley. And I think this is an important ball in the context of the game. Can Leopold maybe score a boundary, just put the pressure back on the Typhoons? Rebecca Stokel would then have to make decisions about bringing fielders up or protecting her bowlers a bit more. But it's a dot instead. So a good finish from Lara McBride. Still a pretty good over from her, just the 6 from it. And after 16, Scorchers 88 for 3. It's pretty much in the balance, isn't it?
We definitely still have a game on here. I'm just thinking that, you know, we definitely have a game here. 4 overs to go, and just when you're chasing a total, complete contrast to when you're setting a total, you know exactly what you need. And probably if we were looking at 4 overs to go here when you're setting a total, you would be saying, well, we'll try and go at 8s, 9s and get up to 120 and 130. But obviously you only need 114, so that's the target in your head. And that's the type of ball we've been talking about over the past few overs. Really just dead batting it back to the bowler.
That definitely could have been worked into a gap. The pace that Sarah Forbes is bowling at should be easy on the back foot. But she's found a gap this time. Freya Sargent has to come around and cut that one off. It will just be 2.
Nice shot. That's
pretty
a nice
tight
shot.
2 in the end.
Yeah, it is a tight 2, but she's got that onto that leg side. But there are lots of gaps, and we've talked about it all day, how it is a big field out here at Malahide. Lots of space to cover. Freya Sargent looking out there, and anything behind square on the leg side is almost certainly going to be 2.
Testing delivery, that one. But just can't get the power, Christina Coulter-Riley. That's the other positive for Sarah Forbes, that she bowls so slowly. You have to create all of the power. Lovely sunny day here in Malahide. Good to see her
That's
too.
a good shot.
Well,
That's a much
that's-
cleaner
yeah.
shot.
Good gap found there from Christina Coulter-Riley. Sends it wide of Robinson at mid-on for a much-needed boundary for the Scorchers as they look to win their first game in this Evoke Super 20 Trophy game tournament.
Yeah, you can have a look at Coulter Riley actually holds her position here and then plays through the line. But the most important thing there is that she finds the gap on this occasion. Gets the power into the shot, which gets her a boundary.
What I was going to say is it's a beautiful day here in Malahide, but our two co-commentators for some reason both have coats on.
Definitely not. That's well fielded, actually. Coulter Riley will be really disappointed. You can see her body language there that she feels she could have got back-to-back boundaries there with that high full toss. That's in the offside, and this is the over now. Coulter Riley's hit that through the gap on the offside, and she picks up another boundary. And that just puts the Scorchers bang on top here now. Good over for the Scorchers.
Yeah, really good gap there again. So earlier in the over got the 4 wide of mid-on, this time wide of mid-off, and that's the over they're looking for. 10 from it. That'll settle the nerves. Sarah Forbes' spell is over. 4 overs, no wickets, 24 runs. So pretty good from her, but that last over really ruining her figures a little bit.
Yeah, you're mentioning about Malahide. Obviously, a lot of the time when I'm down here for an international fixture, and I don't often see the ground in its normal state. Let's put it that way. Naked, yeah. And there's also a game going on in the top pitch with a game in whites, and I don't see that too often now. All coloured kit up in the north, so yeah, just a lovely setting to watch cricket, and amplified by a million because it's beautifully sunny today.
Yeah, I had to put the sun cream on, and actually just remember to put the sun cream on the feet there on show today.
Georgina Dempsey, sorry, to come back here. Straight delivery to start, and she's taken on the arm. Oh, and a hit is out. And Eva Canning just misses.
Well, it's that stage in the game where they're willing to take these kinds of risks. Leopold hit it straight to Canning, who's an excellent fielder, and Canning just missing to the left of the stumps. She got her feet in a little bit of a muddle. I think that's probably not helped, but it's close enough to the target that they're going to take those singles on.
And that's kind of what we're discussing. If they've had a little meeting in between overs and decided, right, well, that's the way we're going to go here. Pretty much, let's go for every run here, and if they hit,
yeah.
Okay.
The fielding's not been amazing from the Typhoons. There's been a few misfields. Joanna Loughran behind the stumps hasn't maybe collected a couple times for wides, and there've been a few leg buys as well that maybe shouldn't have been. So those are the small things that really need to go your way when you're defending a small total. Just 114 required for victory. 15 from 17.
Dempsey will look the ball right on the stumps here. And just as I say that, not really like her general plan is to bowl stump to stump.
Well,
Try and move it away at the start of the innings and then just bowl stump to stump at the end.
And the fact that she's trying to bowl so straight maybe meant that one just snuck down leg side.
$100 up.
There's another bit of untidy work behind the stumps from Joanna Loughran. So 1 wide has turned into 2.
Yeah, it said she'd been very tidy all year. Anytime we're watching, she's had a bad day behind the stumps today. Just little misfields and possibly just not watching the ball into the gloves, especially down that leg side. It is difficult, don't get me wrong. It is difficult any time you're having to go to your left there and the ball's dying a little bit, but that's the standard we've got to reach here. Take those cleanly.
And Leopold just looking to shuffle down the pitch. It is her go-to when she needs to score runs. She does tend to come down the pitch a lot. There's nobody in mid-wicket, so I think probably she should just stand still and try and nudge it into the leg side.
You can probably pick up 2 there even. On that leg side, especially the left-hander.
Good dot from Dempsey too.
Expensive shot, just bringing it back here. 12 off 15 now.
It's an uphill battle for the Typhoons here. But they're still just about in it. I wouldn't say it's honours even anymore. It's definitely in the Scorchers' hands, but Typhoons do have a chance. I wonder what the algorithms would say the chances are. Another dot ball. So Leopold just not managing to get bat on it at this point. Cover is up, so all she needs to do is get it through the ring, and she'll probably get a 4.
The shot's on. The shot is definitely on for her there. She's just maybe not stayed with it. Those last 2 deliveries staying a little bit leg side of it. Maybe leaning into that cover drive. Dempsey in again. The shot's on again, and this time that's the result she's been looking for in the last 2 deliveries. And just at the situation at the minute, 1 out of 3 will do for the Scorcher. She gets the hold of that one, beats mid off, and picks up the boundary.
A really good direction. Rebecca Stokely quite wide mid off there, so she sent it straight. I don't think that Rebecca Stokely could possibly have cut that off. She's hit it really cleanly down the ground. It's been a change we've seen this year from Leopold. Much more power to her game in general. She says, remarkably, someone told me that it was her first 6 in cricket this year.
Really?
I don't think that can be right, can it?
Right.
There's got to be some kind of under 15 game played on a mat on a small pitch where she's hit a 6 before.
Bound to.
We'll have to fact check that one with the woman herself.
Definitely. Would she admit that though?
She would, yeah. She'd be proud of it.
She pulled that to the leg side this time, and this time picked up the gap on that leg side. And that's the difference. We'd said that the game was a run a ball, but a couple of boundaries can just win it for the Scorchers in that. Those last 2 overs really pushed them now towards the brink. 10 off the last, and then those 2 boundaries off the last 2 balls. And that over from Dempsey has now seen it down to just 4 required.
Yeah, she stopped trying to go through the offside, just heaves at leg side instead. Good result for her. Finds the gap between long on and deep mid wicket. And what you don't want is to take it down to the last over if you're the Scorchers. So that's why they've gone on the attack in the 16th and 17th. That's paid dividends. Just the 4 required from 2 overs. I don't think that they'll be happy to take it into the last over. They'll no doubt look to score a boundary here.
Yeah, and they'll probably will look at the scorecard a little bit later on and think that was a fairly comfortable win. You know, they've won with maybe 8-9 balls to spare or something like that. But certainly when we came back on to commentary in the sort of 14th over there, certainly on the balance, Canning's going to, it could be, if it beats the field, it just get past the fielder. It will be 2. Laura McBride trying to get down to the field that. So it will be 2 more to the total and just 2 required now.
Well, a little bit of disappointment for the Typhoons. They couldn't get over the line here and give themselves a chance to win the trophy. A good looking trophy as well. That'll be presented later on, the Evoke Super 20 trophy. But they'll take a wicket just to keep themselves in the game here, the Typhoons. Good glove work again by Joanna Loughran. She has probably given away a few more extras than she'd like, but when it comes to the crunch moment, she's taken 2 good stumpings. And Ava Canning, well, she gets a wicket in her final over. Coulter Riley goes for well made 21 from 19, and Scorches 112 for 4.
Yeah, I just looked up at the scoreboard there and saw that Coulter Riley had moved to 21. And she's one of the few batters today that has gone better than a run a ball. 21 off 19, and when we look back, that could be a crucial innings there that'll get the Scorchers over the line here, which we assume they'll do now. And that just helped out them because they were struggling at one stage there to manipulate the field and just taking those couple of boundaries. So she'll be disappointed not to be out there at the end. And as you say, a nice piece of work knocking off the seamer.
It's disappointing for her not to be able to take the stump out at the end of the game, as they say. I mean, I don't think the umpires will take the stumps out, will they? But figuratively
Might be needed a
speaking,
little bit later on.
yeah. Shauna Kavanagh, the new batter out. The veteran, can we call her that yet? She's retired from international cricket. I don't think she's really old enough. She's not old, but she's been playing for a very long time at the top level. So no better woman to have out in this situation.
Nicely bowled.
Well, for a bowler, you're kind of on a hiding to nothing with these overs, so you have to see it as an opportunity to A, take wickets, and B, just frustrate the batters. So it's like niggle. Bit of niggle here from Ava Canning. See, can she force them into the final over? Well, no ball's definitely not going to help things because there's a one run to the total and a free hit for Shauna Kavanagh to get her off the mark if she can connect with it. Of course, the one thing that Leah Paul is no doubt saying to Shauna Kavanagh is you can get run out off a free hit. It's the only thing that I say to anyone when I'm playing. You can remember, you can get run out. So don't just hit and run. Dot ball. Shauna Kavanagh, I think, thought that she was going to get a wide, but she doesn't.
No, I don't think that was a wide. I think the umpire's going to end the game on that extra, so she's going to tell Shauna Kavanagh, you've got to hit the runs here.
Well, she could just face out the over, and there's another 6 deliveries then for Leopold to see can she do it. Goes her little paddle, and that will be the game. Clever batting from Kavanagh. Well, it's only one she's going to get. It does go for 4, but she'll only get the 1 because she completed the run before the ball had crossed the boundary.
That's a very good point. There'd be I know a lot of people who would have just stood in the middle and let that go over the boundary for 4.
I don't think a lot of people know that rule.
Yeah,
so she thinks she's got 4 from 4, but she's actually got 1 from 4. So the Scorchers win by 6 wickets with 7 balls remaining, and that hands the trophy to the Dragons. This is how they got over the line. Just shuffles across and plays her favourite shot. Little scoop. And Joanna Loughran just had to watch that one sail over the head. So the Scorchers get their first win on the board in their final day of play. They'll take on the Dragons a bit later on. They can't catch them though, so the Dragons win the trophy, and it's a little bit of a celebratory game for them later on.
Yeah, it will be. A big moment for the Dragons, that will be. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later on. And the Typhoons now coming off the pitch. They'll be disappointed with that performance today. Both aspects of the game, bat and ball. Certainly never really got to terms with the pitch. And it was only Robin Searle who really got going. And even she was a little bit slow in terms of her strike rate. So a total of 113 was going to be difficult to defend. They give it a bit of a shot, but really not enough runs on the board for the team in blue, and their final game in the Evoke T20 ends in a defeat. There's the card, and as I was just saying, it's Robin Searle top scored with 30, but came off 36 balls, didn't really get enough of the strike, and even when she did, wasn't really going it over that run of ball, and then just regular wickets all the way through. Sarah Forbes had a few nice shots early on, but again, couldn't really rotate the strike, and then only Eva Canning with a few shots going into double figures. Julie McNally at the end with 12, but just those regular wickets and good bowling from the Scorchers restricted the Typhoons to 113 for 8 from their 20 overs. And there are those partnerships, nothing really to write home about. Partnerships of 40 and 50 in T20 cricket really needed. Only 20s there, and excuse me, that one of 12 at the end between McNally and McBride got them up to 113.
The Scorchers bowlers did a fantastic job. Just 5 required. All of them in the wickets. McGee with the most. 3 for her. 2 as well for McNulty, who was impressive. 1 each for Jay Maguire, Tector, and the other Maguire, Amy. Best bowler was Tector and McNulty, the two teenagers, just 3.75 runs per over, which is very impressive in a T20 match, and that's what helped propel them to victory, because then their batters just cruised pretty much in the second half of the game, chasing down 114. They did make a little bit of hard work of it, but the batters at the end there, Leopold, Christina Coulter-Riley, just getting a few big overs in the back end of the innings helped to propel them to 114 pretty comfortably. Webber was good after a shaky start, 28 from 30 deliveries for her. Lewis looked in her usual fine form before she found the fielder in mid-off. She went for 18 from 14. Tector struggled a little bit, always looks good, but just doesn't find the gaps often enough, 14 from 27. And Coulter-Riley, 21 from 19, was impressive finding the gaps when the pressure was on. Those are the partnerships. Those are the partnership Ali McCalmont was talking about, 30s and 40s. They have two partnerships of 35. That was the difference between the teams. Weber and Lewis opening up, they got 35 for the first wicket, and then Paul and Coulter-Riley near the end, before Coulter-Riley lost her wicket, they put on 35 as well.
There's your bowling lineup for the Typhoons. They've used 6 bowlers in the end. Lots of spin on show. But really, with 113 on the board, it was always going to be difficult for them to create the pressure. They did their very best to create a few dot balls in the middle of the innings, but really needed to keep taking wickets. Freya Sargent, probably the pick up at the top. She pulled the opening over as a maiden, ended up with 2 for 17. Lara McBride with 1 for 8, and the other wicket taker, Ava Canning, 1 for 24. But those middle bowlers, Dempsey, McNally and Forbes, just couldn't create enough pressure on that low total. And the match summary at the end sees the Typhoons setting 113 in their 20 overs. Top scorer Robin Sewell of 30, and the Scorchers chase it down from 18.5 overs. All 4 batters there in double figures. 28 for Webber, 21 Coulter-Riley, 18 for Lewis and Leopold, not out, 17 at the end. And they get there in the end with 7 balls to spare, and the Scorchers win by 6 wickets in this game for their first victory in this tournament. It's come a little bit too late for them. They'll try and get their second a little bit later on today, when they'll be taking on the Dragons. A game due to start today at 3:15. Be lovely for you to join us a little bit later on when the Scorchers take on the Dragons here at a sun-drenched Malahide.